Chapter 2555. Pei Qi and San Shouwang. I heard that Mr. Jianni sought trouble from quite a few clans, and forced them to provide him with a lot of primordial stones. I've heard about that too. Moreover, I heard his tactics aren't so honorable. The world respects ability above all else. What's this honorable nonsense? The void was filled with discussions, with some even heard by Jian Wushuang, but he ignored them. At that moment, his eyes were focused on the center of the combat ring, toward the motionless green-clad middle-aged man, standing with a battle blade on his back with his cold expression. Is he the Earth Ultimate God who challenged the Northern Darkstar Territorial Lord? Jian Wushuang squinted slightly, although there was a certain distance on top of a restrictive shield layer between them. Jian Wushuang could still feel an incredible amount of pressure from the green-clad middle-aged man. His pressure was many times stronger than the Infernal Heart Prefecture governors, who had opened up a sword world. So this is an Earth Ultimate God? Jian Wushuang started looking forward to the battle. The various clans and countless cultivators were all quietly waiting. They did not wait long as, boom! A huge wave of divine power suddenly swept open, a figure gradually emerging from the distant void. It was a big man who was clad in beast skin. His skin was dark while his face and arms were hairy, just like a brown bear. A violent aura was covering every inch of his being. His far above peak ultimate god's immense divine power aura had already recklessly pressed forward before his physical Bodhis arrival. The divine power aura pressed against the entire combat ring, including the countless audiences around it. Every cultivator who was below the ultimate god realm turned pale and trembling under the repression. Some of them could not even stand still, and immediately crouched or knelt. Among those ultimate gods, primary-level ultimate gods were trembling while high-level ultimate gods held on better, with only their faces turned slightly pale. Only peak ultimate gods could more or less withstand the divine power aura's repression, but even they showed a solemn expression. Northern Darkstar Territorial Lord. It's His Excellency the Territorial Lord. He's here. So he is the undisputed first-ranked expert of the Northern Darkstar Territory. Countless eyes looked on with utmost respect and fear at the bear-like man who slowly walked over. Jian Wushuang squinted when he stared at him. The latter's aura of chaos and violence even made him slightly fearful. As for Xiao Tiexin, who was next to Jian Wushuang, her body began to tremble when she saw the Northern Darkstar Territorial Lord's appearance. She did not tremble because of his divine power aura, but from her immense hatred, an absolute hatred. Tiexin. Jian Wushuang slightly gazed at Xiao Tiexin. Xiao Tiexin paused and forced herself to immediately calm down. They were after all right there under the territorial lords, nose not to mention the many surrounding people and experts. Xiao Tiexin's hatred would be easily detected if she was being too obvious. At that moment, the bear-like man had appeared standing right in front of the green-clad middle-aged man in the combat ring. The green-clad man opened his eyes as killing intent began to beam in his eyes, and swept into the heavens. San Shouwang, I finally met you again. The green-clad man's voice was ice-cold. San Shouwang. The countless audiences around were stunned. Some who knew said, the Northern Darkstar Territorial Lord is only his title, and anyone who becomes the future Territorial Lord will also be addressed as such. However, San Shouwang is the Northern Darkstar Territorial Lord's real name. I heard our Territorial Lord used to be a thief, hence his extremely wild personality and cruel tactics. I wonder if it's true. Looks like this green-clad gentleman has some beef with His Excellency. Everyone began to discuss. In the center of the combat ring, the bear-like Northern Darkstar Territorial Lord, who was also known as San Shouwang, looked surprisingly at the green-clad middle-aged man. Looks like we do share a history if you know my real name. Who are you? The green-clad man frostily said, I'm Pei Qi. Pei Qi. San Shouwang's expression twitched before immediately shook his head. Never heard of you. Of course, but you surely remembered the Pei clan? Pei Qi shouted. The Pei clan. San Shouwang immediately understood. You're from the Pei clan? Pei clan. Many clans around the ring immediately began to exclaim. So he is from the Pei clan. No wonder he has such deep hatred against the Northern Darkstar Territorial Lord. Situ Yuan nodded to himself. Clan leader Situ, What's the deal with the Pei clan? Jian Wushuang asked. Situyuan explained. You see, the Pei clan used to be a very powerful mid-tier clan in the northern Darkstar continent in terms of capabilities and foundation. They were one of the most powerful clans among the continent's many mid-tier clans, and were not too far behind when compared to top-tier clans like us. However, 40,000 years ago the Pei clan unintentionally crossed the territorial lord. The furious territorial lord slaughtered the entire Pei clan, and only a few escaped the killing among a large number of clansmen, while the rest were killed. The territorial lord issued an order to track them down and kill the ones who escaped. The official army mobilized its personnel in grandeur to search of the remaining Pei clansmen and killed them. The Pei clan was finally considered destroyed with their end comparable to the Shao clan. Unexpectedly, there's someone from the Pei clan who survived the killings, made a breakthrough to become an Earth Ultimate God, and came back to seek revenge. I see. Jian Wushuang finally understood. San Shouwang, Pei Qi's hateful voice resonated between heaven and earth. You slaughtered the Pei clan, dispatched the official army to track and kill all remaining Pei clansmen 40,000 years ago. I was able to survive that pursuit by sheer luck, and went through hell to stay alive. For 40,000 years, there was never a moment I've ever forgotten these deep grudges. I've finally stepped into the Earth Ultimate God realm, and possessed the ability to challenge you now. Today I'll avenge the whole Pei clan. Only one of us will live in this fight. Pei Qi's roar could shake the heavens. Anybody could feel the boundless hatred and killing intent from his words. They could also understand how he felt. It was the grudge of his entire clan's annihilation after all. Haha, one of us will live. Sounds grand but a pity though. Do you think you have such capabilities? San Shouwang's beast-like eyes stared at Pei Qi while his face beamed with a mysterious grin. Chapter 2556. Battle of the Earth Ultimate Gods 1. Save your words, let's fight. Pei Qi roared with his battle blade instantly unsheathed as a powerful blade essence surged. Boom boom boom, a wall of divine power swept outwards which shook heaven and earth. Whoosh! Pei Qi's body suddenly moved mysteriously, and was already standing in front of San Shouwang when he appeared again. At the same time, his battle blade lashed out 3 strokes of incredibly sharp fleeting lights that were ruthlessly cutting open the air they passed by. San Shouwang sneered without moving even half a step. However, there was a ball of terrifying energy gathering in his palm. Boom! An assertive barbaric punch burst outward and collided head-on with the 3 streaks of fleeting lights. The fleeting lights fell apart with a loud bam, as San Shouwang's huge fist clashed against Pei Qi's battle blade at a stalemate. However, an invisible collision wave swept up just as they made contact. The collision wave expanded outward violently at a terrifying speed. Boom boom boom, in an instant, the entire combat ring fell into a horrible windstorm as countless pebbles were swept by it. Jian Wushuang, various clans experts, and those cultivators present stood watching in silence outside the ring. The audience was unaffected due to the restrictive shield on the ring's edge, blocking the collision waves originating from those incredible explosive powers in the combat ring. However, the observers could still sense the incredible heart-pounding energies from within the combat ring. They are truly worthy to be called Earth Ultimate Gods. Just their divine power energy alone is not something a peak Ultimate God can endure. Jian Wushuang told himself. An Earth Ultimate God's divine was already at least 10 times more powerful than a peak Ultimate God. What was the concept of being 10 times more powerful? It meant that an Earth Ultimate God could easily crush a peak Ultimate God with just his divine powers, without using any special tactic or laws. The gap between an Earth Ultimate God and a regular Ultimate God was simply too far apart. Pei Qi and San Shouwang finally separated in the combat ring. However, Pei Qi charged forward again in the next instant. Sharp lights were shining from his eyes and battle blade. The blade of fleeting light. Splash! A colorful beam of fleeting light, as though pouring from the stars above, broke out. It immediately charged at San Shouwang upon its appearance as its colorful lights caught everyone's attention. What a joke! San Shouwang scoffed and grinned upon seeing that, and immediately began gathering a surging of energy in his right palm. Boom! Another heaven-shattering barbaric punch was released. Such was San Shawang's incredibly barbaric and ruthless style. It mattered not how beautiful one's move looked. A punch was all he needed. If one punch were not enough, then he would release 2 punches. Bam! Another loud collision had slightly shaken San Shawang's body, but the beautiful fleeting light immediately fell apart at that very instant. However, a ghastly figure suddenly appeared amidst the fleeting light which was falling apart. Pei Qi's eyes were cold and emotionless as killing intent surged violently from his body, before stabbing his battle blade forward. The blade of darkness. Ring! A beam of black light flashed like a bolt of dark lightning. It sliced through the void in the blink of an eye and shot right at San Shawang with terrifying powers. The black light was too fast and close to San Shawang, such that even San Shawang did not have time to block the attack with his fist from such a short distance. Bam! Heaven and earth were shaken by it as infinite blacklights containing the power to garrote shrouded the void around San Shawang and attacked ruthlessly. Did he succeed? Don't tell me His Excellency is defeated. The countless cultivators observing outside the combat ring widened their eyes. It isn't so easy. Jian Wushuang intensely frowned. A brown bear-like figure once again appeared at the same spot, after the black lights dispersed as he expected. San Shawang remained indifferent with his body covered in a deep purple energy layer that shrouded his entire physique like armor. The blacklight attacks a moment ago were completely blocked by that deep purple armor. That is the divine armor of destruction. I hear that only when one's destruction law understanding is at an extremely high level could they form an armor merely with destruction powers. The formed armor has a terrifying defensive power. His Excellency's understanding of the destruction law is way too profound. Mr. Pei Qi's attack just now couldn't even break open his armor of destruction, despite being so powerful. Countless people exclaimed, so long no one could break the divine armor of destruction apart upon its formation. San Shawang was practically invincible. Pei Qi, your ability has to be a lot higher than this as an Earth ultimate god. Show me what you've got, otherwise it's no fun. San Shawang opened his jaw and grinned. Pei Qi squinted with a serious expression. As expected, you can't be killed with normal means. Well then, ring. Infinite blade essences surged, immediately shrouded the entire combat ring, and formed a gigantic blade world. Pei Qi had certainly developed his very own principal world as an Earth ultimate god, and he finally unleashed it at that moment. Infinite blade essence filled heaven and earth with Pei Qi as the master of that particular principal world. Jian Wushuang murmured. He activated his principal world. Looks like he's serious this time. The many experts around exclaimed in surprise. They then realized that the battle had only just begun. Pei Qi formed his principal world. The Northern Darkstar Territorial Lord naturally must have formed his own too. Situ Yuan remarked at the side. Just as he predicted, another gigantic world had soon been activated after Pei Qi unleashed his principal world. It was San Shawang's incredibly huge principal world with its power comparable to Pei Qi's blade world in every way. Both principal worlds began clashing in the combat ring, but neither could damage the other. A violent aura surged from San Shawang's body, right at that moment as another thick layer of halo burst out over his divine armor of destruction. San Shawang's expression was cold with his extremely frosty eyes. Boom! San Shawang suddenly paced forward as his figure moved. San Shawang had only been passively taking Pei Qi's attacks since the beginning without taking any initiative to attack. However, he had finally started taking the offensive side. Unlike before, his power was enough to shake heaven and earth as soon as he attacked. Chapter 2557 Battle of the Earth Ultimate Gods 2 Beast King Transformation Incarnate. The extremely ferocious beast that San Shawang had turned into pounced forward with terrifying momentum. The fist which had condensed incredible powers lashed toward Pei Qi like the sharp claws of a beast. Pei Qi was in full concentration, and also triggered his divine body the moment San Shawang made a move. Right after, his divine body suddenly grew 5 meters tall into a small hill. His aura had also risen a lot following the swift growth of his divine body. He was performing a very powerful secret technique. After that, A strong glare shot out of his eyes as his battle blade was shrouded by a layer of crimson-colored light. The blade of blood deity. Boom boom boom. The huge volume of blood mist gushed out and flooded the surroundings into a huge blood ocean. Pei Qi's 5-meter-tall blood-red blood deity figure waved the battle blade in his hands as it clashed with the ferocious beast that was pouncing him. Bang! Heaven and earth trembling hard as infinite airwaves sweeping across. The two principal worlds began to shake violently. San Shuang's ferocious beast form bounced and flew backward. Pei Qi's 5-meter-tall blood deity form had also stumbled a few steps backward before standing still again. Haha, you have some skills. San Shuang laughed heartily as the aura of violence once again swept over. It's time to end this. Pei Qi stared frostily at San Shuang. I'll surely take your life with this next move. Well, let's see who's more skillful then. San Shuang roared deeply as well. Incredible amounts of divine powers were violently gathering toward both their bodies. They were accumulating energies. Is there going to be a verdict? The final and also most powerful clash. This collision will decide their fate. I wonder who will survive in the end. The experts outside the combat ring held their breaths, as hardly anyone blinked from worries that they would miss the coming up clash. Even Jian Wushuang had his eyes glued to the ring. Both Earth Ultimate Gods had maximized their divine power accumulation inside the combat ring. San Shuang was the first to attack. His figure expanded as scales began forming on the surface. Previously, it was his divine powers that simulated a ferocious beast, but at that moment scales began covering his entire body, and had truly turned him into a ferocious armored beast with deep purple scales. The beast turned into a streak of purple shadow and swiftly pounced forward. Beast King Fury. San Shuang's purple beast form let out a furious heaven-shaking roar that resonated in the combat ring. That roar has sonic attacks embedded. No, not just that, but also soul attacks as well, and both are very powerful. Jian Wushuang's expression turned gloomy. However, Pei Qi remained calm when he heard the roar. He slapped his chest. Bam! 3 drops of blood essence shot out at the same time. Pei Qi's aura had simultaneously and immediately shrunk a great deal, such that even his face turned pale. However, the battle blade he held was glowing with brighter and more beautiful crimson lights than before. My fate, the grudge of many Pei clansmen, my 40,000 years of hard work, and everything else will depend on this single strike. It's either him or me. Pei Qi mumbled as he held the battle blade and raised it high with both his hands. Bloody deity slaughters heaven. Vroom. The boundless blood ocean violently crashed as Pei Qi's eyes were filled with the craze. The blood deity he formed waved its battle blade downward. As soon as the blade struck, a crimson blade light that could split heaven and earth immediately formed and swept outward. As the crimson blade light appeared, its terrifying energy turned the surrounding blood ocean into steam. San Shuang's purple beast form did not waste a second as it charged directly at the crimson blade light with infinite ferocity, and sneered as he did so. Ring! The two principal worlds that were violently pressing against each other began to tremble. The two principal worlds were initially even leveled, with none able to win over the other. However, San Shuang's principal world's energy for some reason suddenly and radically surged. In the blink of an eye, it kept pushing back Pei Qi's principal world. Some energies went through and began affecting Pei Qi. What? The audience was shocked. Pei Qi's principal world is being directly repressed. Jian Wushuang was stunned as well. The sudden repression of the principal world even caught Pei Qi by surprise. However, the situation had occurred, and he could not allow himself to give way. Finally, the purple beast barbarically charged clashed head-on with the Pei Qi's crimson blade light with its powerful energies. The beast directly collided with the blade light. At the same moment the collision took place, the crimson blade light immediately turned dim, and terrifying energy exploded. Boom boom boom. Infinite amounts of divine powers were violently swept in all directions. The divine power shrouded the entire battlefield and brought forth a massive divine power storm. Pei Qi and San Shuang were in the eye of the storm, and giving all they had to outplay each other. The cultivators surrounding the combat ring could no longer see what was happening within the ring. They could only wait for the divine power storm to die down and for the final result to present itself. The divine power storm persisted for a long time before it began to gradually break apart. The storm disappeared completely after a while, and the two figures within were once again visible. San Shouwang had once again reverted into his human form, and so did Pei Qi's divine body. Ah! San Shouwang spat out a gulp of fresh blood with a pale face. The deep purple divine destruction armor that shrouded him had cracked open, that even his protective armor had a clear white mark, a blade strike mark. The blade strike had broken through the divine destruction armor, landed on his protective armor, and left him severely injured. However, though San Shouwang's aura was a lot weaker, he was still very much alive. As for Pei Qi did not show any superficial injuries nor marks. However, blood started streaming out of his eyes, nose, mouth, and ears. Pei Qi's eyes were bright red and staring deadly at San Shouwang. "I won't give in," Pei Qi growled. However, the signs of life had completely vanished after his growl as his divine body lifelessly limped and toppled forward. Dead? An Earth Ultimate God has just died like this? All the experts observing the battle from outside the combat ring were shocked. Chapter 2558. Hiding his abilities. Although Jian Wushuang appeared to be sitting there calmly, his expression was very serious with a slight frown. He first looked at Pei Qi's corpse, then at San Shouwang, and frowned even harder. Even though this Pei Qi guy did not seem externally injured, his internal organs have completely broken into pieces despite being a true Earth Ultimate God. He also has all sorts of protective means defending his body when San Shouwang collides with him. However, he utilized his defensive tactics to break Pei Qi's internal organs into shreds after dissolving Pei Qi's blade light. That energy must be... Jian Wushuang was secretly shocked. San Shouwang, even though Pei Qi's blade struck open the divine destruction armor on his boda's surface and caused some harm to his divine body, it isn't enough to make him puke blood and weaken his aura to that point. If I'm not mistaken, San Shouwang's blood puking and aura decrease are nothing but an act. He's been hiding his true abilities. Jian Wushuang felt heavy at heart. Hiding his abilities? Yes, San Shouwang had been hiding his abilities. He had been deliberately hiding his true abilities, not only in the battle where he killed Pei Qi, but also in the 3 prior challenges. As for his motive, it was simply because he wanted to put on an act in front of everyone, by giving them the false assumption that his abilities were not flawless, and probably just slightly above a regular Earth Ultimate God. In this way, he could attract more Earth Ultimate Gods to challenge him, destroy them one by one, and steal their treasures. At that very moment, almost everyone on the scene, including those peak ultimate gods, thought that San Shouwang had suffered some injuries, even though he had killed Pei Qi. However, that thought could not be further from the truth. This guy, Jian Wushuang, was not happy. Sooner or later, he was going to challenge San Shouwang after all. However, his true abilities were far from his imagination. In the combat ring, San Shouwang took away Pei Qi's interspatial ring and all of his other treasures before waving his hand and immediately destroyed Pei Qi's body. After that, San Shouwang looked over at the few official army commanders and said, "I'm quite badly injured this time and need to enter a retreat for a while to recover. I won't accept any more challenges within 1,000 years." "Yes, sir." The official army commanders nodded heavily. San Shouwang left in a flash. Following San Shouwang's departure, the millions of audiences outside the combat ring began to stir. Too powerful. His Excellency the Territorial Lord is really too powerful. That Mr. Pei Qi was also a very powerful Earth Ultimate God, but was still killed. His Excellency is invincible within the Northern Darkstar territory. Invincible. Many cultivators began shouting in a frenzy. Jian Wushuang slowly stood up at the Situ clan seats. "Mr. Jianyi, are you ready to return home?" Situ Yuan immediately stood up. "Yes, I learn a lot from today's battle, and should return home, and begin cultivating as well." Jian Wushuang smiled. "Farewell then. By the way, we started converting those resources, and progress is pretty good." Situ Yuan smiled. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly, and left with Xiao Tiexin. On the way back, Xiao Tiexin asked, "Mr. Jianyi, what are your thoughts about today's battle?" Jian Wushuang directly answered. Both Pei Qi and the territorial lord, San Shouwang, were very powerful. Their battle prowess was truly worthy of Earth ultimate gods. But San Shouwang is a lot scarier than Pei Qi. A lot scarier? Xiao Tiexin was confused. I thought San Shouwang was severely injured by Pei Qi? They aren't that far apart in terms of abilities, right? Haha. Jian Wushuang laughed before briefly telling her his observations. Hiding his abilities, San Shouwang's injury was a deliberate act? Xiao Tiexin was shocked. Jian Wushuang said, indeed. His true ability is a lot stronger than what we saw. Pei Qi had died in vain. If he earlier knew about San Shouwang's hidden abilities, he won't even dare challenge him. However, his death isn't worthless. At least, it has made me more aware of San Shouwang, and helped me gain a more thorough understanding of San Shouwang's abilities. If I'm capable in the future, it'll help him avenge the Pei clan, and won't forget about the Xiao clan too. Xiao Tiexin nodded lightly. Even though Jian Wushuang made that promise, he also knew very well that his abilities were still a far cry from San Shouwang. He would even have difficulty withstanding Pei Qi, not to mention San Shouwang. Jian Wushuang mumbled, let's go back and continue seclusion training. Observing the two Earth ultimate gods battle is of immense help to my cultivation. He very soon returned to his residence and continued his retreat. At the same time, the territorial lord residence's gigantic underground palace was surrounded by layers of restrictive shields, with the northern Dark Star territorial lord, San Shouwang, sitting alone in lotus style. However, his pale expression and incredibly weak aura shown only a while ago at the combat ring were at that moment as strong as before, with no trace of having suffered any injuries. He had an extremely indifferent look on his face. As Jian Wushuang speculated, the injuries and blood puking were all an act. Even those words he spoke to the commanders about him not accepting any more challenges in 1,000 years were something he deliberately said. He did not suffer even a bit of injury. An interspatial ring floated before him. It was the one Pei Qi left behind after his death. Haha, Pei Qi really did not disappoint. He wandered alone outside of the territory, became an Earth ultimate god, and accumulated so many treasures in his interspatial ring on top of many primordial stones. I only annihilated the Xiao clan not long ago, and obtained a great amount of wealth, including the stately painting, and I've now acquired all of Pei Qi's treasures. The total amount of wealth I've accumulated is quite handsome, and am not so far from achieving the Divine Destructive Beast's 4th volume. Divine Destructive Beast was a powerful secret technique that San Shouwang had been cultivating. In the battle with Pei Qi, the incredibly powerful secret technique had unleashed such terrifying power despite not even in its complete form. All those years, San Shouwang tried every method to gather resources and wealth to advance his Divine Destructive Beast secret technique. At that moment, he had cultivated the secret technique's first 3 volumes, and soon the 4th volume would be within his reach. Who should I obtain the remaining primordial stones from? Should I simply find a mid-tier clan, or should I seek the Situ clan? San Shouwang began to ponder. Chapter 2559. Ultimate God Realm. Time flowed swiftly like the waters. A year had passed. Mr. Jianyi, clan leader Situ is here. Xiao Tiexin passed a message. In the secret chamber, Jian Wushuang immediately opened up his eyes. Is that so? Jian Wushuang smiled and left the secret chamber right away. Mr. Jianyi. Situ Yuan was still as humble and polite. It's the 1-year deadline, and looks like clan leader Situ has brought me good tidings, said Jian Wushuang with a smile. I'm glad that we did not fail on your request, Mr. Jianyi. We've sold 90% of your resources, while the Situ clan have purchased the remaining 10. The final accumulated primordial stones are at 210,000 pieces, which are all kept in this interspatial ring. Please have a look. Situ Yuan passed an interspatial ring to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang was overjoyed upon receiving the ring and carefully counted. Mr. Jianyi, truthfully, those resources are worth more than 240,000. You could have received 270,000 or even 280,000 primordial stones had we employed certain strategies to liquidate them. But we sold them for you as soon as possible since you are in urgent need of primordial stones, said Situ Yuan. I'm quite happy with 210,000 pieces. You have my gratitude, clan leader. I shall remember this forever, said Jian Wushuang. Haha, you're too polite, Mr. Jianyi. This is only a small matter, don't worry about it. Situ Yuan lightly smiled. Mr. Jianyi, I shall say farewell if there isn't anything other matters. Safe journeys. Jian Wushuang personally sent off Situ Yuan. After a while, Jian Wushuang went back inside. Liquidating these resources has gotten me 210,000 primordial stones. And if I add on the 390,000 pieces with me, that's a total of 600,000. Jian Wushuang tightly held his fists together. 600,000 primordial stones was enough for him to make a breakthrough into the ultimate god realm. It was even sufficient for him to upgrade his divine power. A little after making his breakthrough, Jian Wushuang immediately returned to his secret chamber and began to refine the primordial stones without any hesitation. He could not wait to make his breakthrough into the ultimate god realm. Inside the secret chamber, Jian Wushuang took out all his primordial stones, which piled up the entire chamber. A terrifying power of absorption began soon after. Jian Wushuang had previously spent almost 2 months to refine just 160,000 primordial stones obtained from the Shi clan. He would need at least 6 months for the entire 600,000 pieces. However, Jian Wushuang did not mind spending half a year doing so. Although Pei Qi's challenge caused quite a stir in the northern Darkstar continent, with his death causing even bigger stimulation. However, the stir gradually calmed, and the continent had returned to its previous peacefulness as time passed. Another half a year had passed under such peacefulness. In the secret chamber, Jian Wushuang had absorbed divine powers from the last primordial stone. After a while, a sharp light glowed from within as he opened his eyes. Primary stage ultimate god. This is the power that an ultimate god possesses. Jian Wushuang tightly held his fists together and felt the divine power surge in his body. The divine power was not too much broader than when he was at the peak divine demon level. However, the crux was that it became way more powerful. A huge gap exists between the divine demon realm and ultimate god realm, and that made all the difference. My divine power strength is probably comparable to regular Earth ultimate gods the moment I've reached ultimate god realm, while those secret techniques I've learned have also gotten quite an upgrade, mumbled Jian Wushuang to himself. He did not leave his seclusion right away. Instead, he continued to cultivate his secret techniques. Once he became an ultimate god, he could start upgrading his secret techniques by leaps and bounds. For example, he could begin studying the Primordial Void Celestial Bodhis 3rd volume. The same could be said for the 2nd volume of 7 Stars Secret Technique. As for the Divine God of Punishment Secret Technique, he had reached its 2nd stage not too long ago, making it impossible to reach the 3rd stage in a short time. However, his god shadow form could be upgraded slightly. In the meantime, it was not easy for him to have already reached the golden armor in his 9 sparkle star armor. Hence there was no way he could upgrade it anytime soon. It took another 6 months for him to finally finish cultivating his secret techniques. Such was also because he had perfect comprehensive and fast understanding skills. A normal cultivator would have needed a very long time to study and cultivate such powerful secret techniques. Some people had to spend a few hundred years studying one secret technique, while it was not surprising either for others to spend even a few thousand years. In Jian Wushuang's past life, some people would spend ages studying a secret technique, such as Emperor by being the typical example. However, it was as such because the cultivation conditions in his past life were limited. In his ancient god domain's current life, the needed time to cultivate a secret technique would not take as long as Emperor Bai. It took only a total of 1 year, with half a year spent absorbing primordial stones, and the other half cultivating secret techniques. I'm currently comparable to regular Earth ultimate gods in terms of divine power. My divine power would become even stronger than San Shouwang if I used my secret techniques, while my understanding of space-time law and transmigration law has achieved a major upgrade from the Fengtian Scroll's assistance these days. I can now more or less be comparable to the level of a regular Earth ultimate god, especially when it comes to space-time law. I'm not weaker than San Shouwang in terms of divine power and law understanding, while my secret techniques can overtake San Shouwang. My only shortcoming right now is sword principle. Jian Wushuang mumbled. In his recent cultivation, his understanding of the sword principle had greatly improved, and was only a step from developing his sword world. However, that step was a huge leap to take. San Shouwang was someone who had fully developed his principal world, to the extent of his principal world ultimately crushed Pei Qi's principal world in the battle. In other words, San Shouwang's principal world was incredibly overbearing. In such a situation, Jian Wushuang would be at a great disadvantage, unless he could develop his sword world to counter it. Chapter 2560. Visit from an old friend. The sword world had to be developed within oneself. It was a world that belonged to that individual. However, what he displayed was merely a forcefully built frame using sword essences. Just like building a house. What good would it do if there was only a wooden outline without bricks and clay to fill it up? I've been pondering a lot about Sword World, but I'm still missing something that allows me to really develop one. If I keep cultivating as such, it'll probably need a long time to truly understand and develop a real sword world. Looks like it'll need some external help. Jian Wushuang squinted as he thought of someone. Dark Thunder Territory's first-ranked expert, the Infernal Heart Prefecture Governor. The governor was the first expert Jian Wushuang met, who was able to form a complete sword world. Jian Wushuang deliberately stayed back in the Dark Thunder Territory to fight him, just so he could grasp the sense of a sword world. Unfortunately, his ability was too weak at that time, and he was not a compatible opponent for the Infernal Heart Prefecture Governor. Furthermore, he was a bit worried about consequences, as it was after all the 18 prefectures' turf. Hence he did not dare stay long, and could not get a very good grasp. However, he was at a bottleneck trying to form Sword World at that moment, and he could finally seek the governor and force him to fight once again. Perhaps he still could not grasp a complete ideal of the Sword World the second time to form his own. But he had a feeling it would at least help his sword principle by quite a bit. Jian Wushuang broke out of his seclusion with that thought in mind. Tiexin, I need to go back to Dark Thunder Territory again. It won't take long, so just stay here in the northern Darkstar continent and wait for me, said Jian Wushuang. Aye. Xiao Tiexin nodded. Jian Wushuang then set off to the Dark Thunder Territory. A month later, Jian Wushuang arrived at Dark Thunder Territory's central area. It was a place infested with thieves and criminals. Although the thieves in the Dark Thunder Territory were shocked by the annihilation of Demonic Moon, Heaven Poison, and Underworld prefectures, they were not in fear. Dark Thunder Territory was still a paradise for thieves and criminals. The rest of the 15 prefectures were still the territory's overlords. The Infernal Heart Prefecture's headquarters was located within a titanic mountain, and since their governor was the undisputed first-ranked expert in Dark Thunder Territory, they were the strongest prefecture among the 15 prefectures under his leadership. Countless palace chambers and penthouses were erected on the mountainside. At the mountain peak were a few large halls, and the voices of many thieves resonating from within. A golden-robed young man with a long sword on his back appeared in the void in front of this mountain. Jian Wushuang looked down at the Infernal Heart Prefecture's quarters with his arms folded and said, "Infernal Heart Prefecture Governor, your old friend is here." His voice resonated, bounced back and forth between mountains, and transmitted into the ears of the thieves at the peak. The entire prefecture's quarters was quickly stirred. The governor's old friend? Who could that be? Who's here? Many figures flew into the void above. Countless pairs of eyes looked at Jian Wushuang. This guy looks familiar. Golden robe with a long sword on his back? That's right. The portrait, I've seen his portrait. Jianyi, it's him. The expert Jianyi who single-handedly destroyed Demonic Moon, Heaven Poison, and Underworld Prefecture. Jian Wushuang had enjoyed quite a bit of fame in the northern Darkstar continent. All the 15 prefectures had their respective tightly organized intelligence network, and they naturally had his portrait, as well as knew of his name. His identity caused a big stir in the entire Infernal Heart Prefecture. It was understandable, as Jianyi was the terrifying existence that brought them down to 15 prefectures. Moreover, he was being pursued by the Infernal Heart Prefecture governor before leaving the Dark Thunder territory, and his return to the prefecture was not a visitation, but for revenge. Jianyi, what are you doing in our prefecture's quarters? Someone growled. It was a high-level ultimate god's voice with an extremely strong aura, who ranked right below the governor in the prefecture. I'm here to look for the Infernal Heart Prefecture governor and have a gathering for old time's sake. Why isn't he at home? Jian Wushuang scanned the thieves before him and could not see the governor among them. The governor would perhaps have come out to meet him instead of sending a high-level ultimate god representative if he was at the quarter. Our governor has gone to Green Flame Prefecture not long ago and hasn't returned yet, said the high-level ultimate god. Green Flame Prefecture, huh? Jian Wushuang answered. Green Flame Prefecture was the second strongest among the 18 prefectures, after Infernal Heart Prefecture, who also had a peak ultimate god governor. Jian Wushuang answered. That's all right, I'll wait for him here. Our governor went for a gathering with the Green Flame Prefecture governor, and looks like he'll stay there for quite a while. It could be up to a year if he's in the mood. Why don't you come back again? Or maybe you can go find him at Green Flame Prefecture, said the high-level ultimate god. No need. Send him a message and ask him to come back right away. Just say that I'll wait 3 days for him. If he doesn't show up in 3 days, the Infernal Heart Prefecture will cease to exist, said Jian Wushuang leisurely. Although he said it leisurely, thieves gasped in fear when they heard his words. They did not doubt the abilities and audacity of this Jian Yi who was standing before them. That Jianyi person was only a primary stage ultimate god back then, but he annihilated 3 prefectures in one go. They had since been hearing his reputation spreading within the northern Darkstar continent, such that a lot of major clans on the continent could do nothing with some even bowing down to him. At that moment, the Infernal Heart Prefecture governor was not at the prefecture, and Jian Yi could easily annihilate them. Remember, only 3 days. Jian Wushuang reminded him again on purpose before shutting his eyes straight away, and quietly waited. The Infernal Heart Prefecture's thieves dared not waste any time, as they immediately reported the incident to their governor. The thieves did not lie, as their governor was indeed at the Green Flame Prefecture. When Jian Wushuang appeared at the Infernal Heart Prefecture's quarters, he was happily eating and drinking with the 2 governors from Green Flame Prefecture governor and Mysterious Shade Prefectures. Jianyi, the Infernal Heart Prefecture governor's eyes were cold when he appeared in front of Jian Wushuang, with the 2 other governors standing beside him. Mr. Governor, we meet again. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes and looked at the Infernal Heart Prefecture governor. After that, he quickly scanned the other 2 governors. Didn't expect to see the Green Flame and Mysterious Shade Prefecture governors. I'm truly honored that all 3 Dark Thunder territories' peak ultimate gods have arrived together just because of me. Jianyi, you've already left Dark Thunder territory before, and made quite a reputation for yourself. Why did you come back to our turf? Infernal Heart Prefecture governor coldly asked. Infernal Heart Prefecture governor, perhaps you forgot that I've told you before leaving that I'd love to fight you once again in the future, if there's an opportunity, and here I am. Jian Wushuang smiled. Just to fight with me? The Infernal Heart Prefecture governor stared at Jian Wushuang. Yep, just as simple as that, said Jian Wushuang. What he said was completely true. The governor said, all right then. I'll fulfill your wish, but it can't be here. How about the void over that side? That area was after all the old nest of Infernal Heart Prefecture. Even if there was a restrictive shield, the shield may not be able to withstand the battle impact of 2 peak ultimate gods if they fought there. Sure. Jian Wushuang nodded as his figure dashed toward the empty void afar in a flash. The Infernal Heart, Green Flame, Mysterious Shade Prefecture governors, and the mini Infernal Heart thieves followed. Jian Wushuang, expressionless, stood there upon arriving at the empty void. The Infernal Heart Prefecture governor looked at the other 2 beside him. Gentlemen, I'll fight with him for the first round. Both of the 2 wait here, and find an opportunity to make a move. Okay. Both governors nodded carefully. The three governors did not simply intend to chase Jian Wushuang away. They wanted to force Jian Wushuang to stay if possible. However, they had to first sound him out. "Mr. Governor, please make your move." Jian Wushuang smiled plainly. "As you wish." The governor did not waste any time as his body leisurely gilded before appearing in front of Jian Wushuang with his incredible speed. His cold and evil-looking black sword stabbed Jian Wushuang's skull from a tricky angle. Jian Wushuang took a glance at the dark sword light and simply flicked his finger without unsheathing his sword. Twang! His finger hit the black sword's flat surface and resolved the tricky angle attack with an enormous bolt of divine power explosion, which changed the sword's direction. What? The Infernal Heart Prefecture governor was shocked as he swayed toward a void on the side. "Mr. Governor, don't play around with me. Unleash your sword world and give your all," said Jian Wushuang coldly. The whole reason he went back to find the Infernal Heart Prefecture governor was because of the latter's sword world. Chapter 2562. Earth Ultimate God's Battle Power. Why your divine powers? The Infernal Heart Prefecture governor stared at Jian Wushuang in total shock. The Infernal Heart Prefecture governor naturally could not figure out Jian Wushuang's level, as he had been standing without projecting any aura. However, Jian Wushuang could bounce his long sword away with a mere finger flick and divine power outburst once Jian Wushuang took action. The governor soon realized that aura was one only a peak ultimate god could possess. That came as a surprise as Jian Wushuang was only at the level of primary stage ultimate god when he left the Dark Thunder territory. How long had it been? Not even 3 years. Jian, who stood before him at that moment, had risen to peak ultimate god from primary stage ultimate god. How could he progress so quickly? Looks like you probably had some immense luck on the northern Darkstar continent. No wonder even the clans there could not touch you. The Infernal Heart Prefecture governor looked gloomy. Indeed, I've improved quite a bit from my very good luck. Otherwise, how would I dare stand before you in public like this? Jian Wushuang chuckled. "Mr. Governor, show me your strongest move." "Humph." The governor did not hold back and humphed as the boundless sword essence began to sweep up. In the blink of an eye, a sword world had formed and pressed against Jian Wushuang. Enormous stunning energy began to work against Jian Wushuang. Although Jian Wushuang's cultivation level had increased, his divine power was as strong as an earth ultimate god. However, that was only one aspect, as being repressed by the principal world was not something his divine powers could change. At that very moment, his abilities, especially sword principle, was immensely decreased when faced with such an incredibly stunning effect. I get to feel the sword world again. Although being repressed, Jian Wushuang felt joy instead of fear. At the same time, he was analyzing the completed sword world in great detail. This is indeed an actual sword world inside out. It's incredibly refined and complete from its illusory to existential state. A true world, Jian Wushuang murmured to himself. However, the Infernal Heart Prefecture governor had moved. "This is a deathmatch battle, and you dare get distracted?" The governor was furious, as his eyes burst with killing intent. "Dark sword kill god." His pitch-black longsword glowed with a dark light as he shouted and bloomed with black ripples under the sword world's vibrations. The big swirl-like ripples suddenly charged at Jian Wushuang. That strike was the governor's strongest move. More than 2 years ago, Jian Wushuang could not fend off that strike when crossing hands against the governor. In the end, he had to rely purely on his bodily defensive capabilities to withstand that strike's energy. However, at this moment, Jian Wushuang was still submerging himself in understanding the sword world, and only began to reach when the black swirl appeared in front of him. At that very moment, he unsheathed the blood mountain from his back and spontaneously swung it. The sword which blocked the black swirl immediately broke it apart. He blocked it so easily. The Infernal Heart Prefecture governor was shocked, but vicious light immediately burst from his eyes again. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Beams of strangely cold sword lights continuously lashed out under the sword world's effect. The large number of sword lights were incredibly fast, ferocious, and contained terrifying energies. They were so dense as it seemed as though infinite sword lights were completely drowning Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang only smiled lightly and sent out a casual stroke which easily fended away those dense sword lights. At the same time, Jian Wushuang was still submerging himself in feeling the sword world. On the battlefield's edge, the Green Flame Prefecture Governor, Mysterious Shade Prefecture Governor, and numerous Infernal Heart Prefecture thieves were gathered together. Both governors looked worried. It's only less than 3 years and Jianni has risen 2 levels? With such a big leap in his abilities, I'm afraid the Infernal Heart Prefecture Governor alone can't touch him, said the Green Flame Prefecture Governor. Indeed, he has given his all, but he could not gain even a bit of an advantage. In addition, Jianni has not given his all from the looks of it, said the Mysterious Shade Prefecture Governor. The Green Flame Prefecture Governor menacingly said, "We shouldn't wait any longer. Let's immediately join in and work with the governor. Let's kill him." All right. The Mysterious Shade Prefecture Governor nodded. In the next moment, both Peak Ultimate Gods governors also joined in the attack. Jian Wushuang was within the sword world feeling its surroundings in great detail, while fending off the Infernal Heart Prefecture Governor's sword attacks. Although the sword world's enormous stunning effects made him unable to unleash his full abilities, he could still easily resolve various attacks and tactics thrown at him. However, right at that moment, boom, boom, Jian Wushuang's senses suddenly detected 2 violent auras penetrating the battlefield. Jian Wushuang's face turned cold. The outcome came as no surprise when Jian Wushuang casually waved his hand. That mere wave had startled space-time, heaven and earth. Wash! An infinitely huge and terrifying sword light suddenly burst out before instantly reaching both governors, who just joined the battle. What? Careful! The 2 shocked governors blocked the sword light. However, boom! A deep thud of collision sounded before both of them shot backward like cannonballs. At the same time, their faces turned pale as they tasted blood in their throats before spat out a gulp of it. Both of them were completely shocked to a standstill with their auras having decreased by half. How's that possible? The 2 governors could not believe it. How was it possible that when 2 peak ultimate gods attacking together, a mere reserved stroke could severely injure both of them? What kind of ability was it? Earth ultimate god? The Infernal Heart Prefecture Governor was also shocked at that moment, while looking at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's face remained incredibly cold as he shot a glance toward the 2 governors who were already out of the battlefield and frostily said, "I only want to fight with the Infernal Heart Prefecture Governor, and will kill anyone who tries to interfere." Jian Wushuang's voice was also icy as he exploded with a menacing and overpowering aura that was way above peak ultimate god. In that instant, heaven and earth turned dead silent. Chapter 2563, 9 days indeed. He's indeed an Earth Ultimate God. The thieves around were gasping in shock from feeling Jian Wushuang's overpowering divine breath. The divine power level determined the divine breath, and Jian Wushuang's divine power was comparable to an Earth Ultimate God. Hence his divine breath was naturally at that level. However, under the Black Stone's camouflage, his divine power breath was only at peak Ultimate God. This. The Infernal Heart Prefecture Governor also stood there completely stunned. He could not imagine that Jian Wushuang had already risen to that level in less than 3 years. Around only 2 years ago, he could still completely crush Jian Wushuang and make him powerless to retaliate. Were it not for Jian Wushuang's incredible physical defensive capabilities, he could have died in the previous battle with the governor. "Mr. Governor, no one else will disturb us again. Let's continue." Jian Wushuang smiled as he sent his Blood Mountain sword forward. The governor was startled as he thought that Jian Wushuang's sword strike would be incredibly terrifying. However, that strike was not powerful at all, and he could withstand it pretty easily. Jian Wushuang and the Infernal Heart Prefecture Governor began fighting again. During the process, the governor noticed that Jian Wushuang had been holding back his abilities. His divine breath was not completely projected, and consistently stayed at the level of a peak ultimate god. He was purely battling him using sword techniques. In some situations, Jian Wushuang was even being suppressed by him, because of the sword world, and seemed rather embarrassing. The Infernal Heart Prefecture Governor finally understood the reason from seeing that, and it did not need a wise man to finally realize it. Is he using me to train his sword principle? He's precisely feeling my sword world. This guy. The governor's face turned purple out of anger. Anyone who was being used as a testing dummy to increase his abilities would not be happy about it. However, he dared not slow down 1 second as he was worried that it would offend Jian Wushuang and caused him to start killing. Not just killing him, but also destroying the entire Infernal Heart Prefecture. He did not doubt that Jian Wushuang could annihilate the entire prefecture. Due to that, all the governor could do was to continue playing along with Jian Wushuang by suppressing him with the sword world's stunning effects and help him to achieve a breakthrough in his sword principle. He could not begin to think about how foolish he felt for doing that. In the blink of an eye, the pair had been fighting under everyone's watch for a full hour. Let's stop. Jian Wushuang finally spoke and retreated backward. Finally done? As the Infernal Heart Prefecture governor felt relieved, Jian Wushuang unexpectedly glared at him. I can see that you don't have much divine power left in you. I'll give you some time to rejuvenate. Let's do it again as soon as you're ready. Jian Wushuang smiled. What? The governor's face turned paper pale. The Green Flame Prefecture governor, Mysterious Shade Prefecture governor, and surrounding thieves gulped. Jian Wushuang had already treated the Infernal Heart Prefecture governor as his training mate. The governor of Infernal Heart Prefecture dared not speak up despite feeling angry. He had no choice but to try his best to recover his divine powers under Jian Wushuang's coercion. After a long while, most of his divine powers were finally restored. Mr. Governor, shall we continue? Jian Wushuang smiled. The governor was unable to oppose Jian Wushuang and could only unleash his sword world once again to stun and suppress him before fighting Jian Wushuang with his full might. Jian Wushuang did not once display his true ability and only kept his divine aura at the regular peak ultimate god level, using only his sword techniques when crossing hands and trading blows with the governor. Time flowed by while such battles repeatedly occurred. Jian Wushuang and the Infernal Heart Prefecture governor fought repeatedly every day as time passed. 9 days had passed in the blink of an eye. In those 9 days, everyone lost count of how many times Jian Wushuang had fought the governor. One thing was clear. The Infernal Heart Prefecture governor had to recover his divine powers dozens of times. After 9 days, the governor felt incredibly tired and embarrassed while Jian Wushuang was still feeling ready to fight. The governor even felt like not obliging him a few times. However, he forced himself to swallow the embarrassment as soon as he recalled Jian Wushuang's battle strength. Finally, on the 10th day, we can stop now, said Jian Wushuang. The Infernal Heart Prefecture governor immediately stopped. In the past 9 days, I've learned and felt enough through your sword world. Although I still haven't found the most crucial factor to develop my sword world, it's still incredibly useful to me. It's not very meaningful for us to continue at this point. Jian Wushuang knew that he had reached a real bottleneck. He was only 1 step away from developing his sword world, as he had taken a big leap forward after those 9 days. The remaining step could not be achieved just by feeling the Infernal Heart Prefecture governor's sword world. He could only find alternative ways. Mr. Governor, thanks for your help in the past few days. In exchange, I can spare the lives of Infernal Heart Prefecture and the other 14 prefectures in the Dark Thunder territory. However, all 15 prefectures need to provide me with 500,000 primordial stones as the price to pay for saving the lives of numerous thieves from all 15 prefectures. Jian Wushuang smiled. 500,000? The Infernal Heart Prefecture governor shuddered. The governors of Green Flame and Mysterious Shade prefectures were also shocked. The numerous thieves in the Infernal Heart Prefecture began to look worried. 500,000 was an extremely huge number. The 15 prefectures were indeed deeply rooted in the Dark Thunder territory and possessed substantial wealth. However, the wealth they possessed was a far cry from the northern Darkstar continent's clans. The 3 prefectures Jian Wushuang annihilated, Demonic Moon, Heaven Poison and Underworld, only possessed a total of 90,000 primordial stones. Although they had numerous other resources, Jianni had said that he only wanted primordial stones and nothing else. Therefore, it was still an extremely huge sum for each of them even if the 15 prefectures equally split up the task. I'll be staying in the Dark Thunder territory for a while, but too long. I shall return to the Infernal Heart Prefecture's headquarters before leaving, and hope that all the primordial stones will be ready by then. Chapter 2564. Sword Principle Training. After Jian Wushuang left, emotions began to stir in the void. The Green Flame Prefecture governor shouted, "Damn it! He's got some guts to ask for 500 primordial stones." The Mysterious Shade Prefecture governor furiously said, "This Jian Yi is obviously asking for a lot. No, this is clearly robbery." "Yes, he's robbing us, but even then what can we do?" The Infernal Heart Prefecture governor seemed rather calm. "Gentlemen, don't forget who we are. We are thieves, too, and robbing is our business. The only thing is that our positions have been switched with him, and it's Jian Yi who's robbing us now. Not to mention, he possesses the capacity to do so." The two governors fell silent. They immediately recalled the moment Jian Wushuang's burst out with energy and severely injured them with a single sword stroke. Without a doubt, Jian Wushuang did possess the ability to destroy the 15 prefectures all by himself. Everybody must yield before absolute strength. Normally, the 15 prefectures were not afraid of the northern Darkstar continent's large clans. They were not even too fearful of top-tier clans such as Shi, Wu, and Sita clans. However, they would never have the nerve to cross the northern Darkstar territorial lord. That was because the territorial lord possessed the powers to absolutely crush them. Jian Wushuang's ability may be slightly lower than the northern Darkstar territorial lord, but it was not too far behind. The 15 prefectures could only swallow their pride when faced against experts with an Earth Ultimate God's battle strength. "Infernal Heart Governor, do you mean that we'll have to pay up?" The Green Flame Prefecture governor trembled. "Do you have a better idea?" The Infernal Heart Prefecture governor looked at him. The other two governors exchanged a look before helplessly shook their heads. After leaving the Infernal Heart Prefecture, Jian Wushuang glided through the void alone with a slight smile on his face. "I was slightly hesitant when taking action on the Northern Darkstar Continent clans, as they never crossed me after all. However, I didn't have to worry so much about the 18 prefecture bunch of thieves who go around robbing people and causing nothing but trouble. I'm not even going too far if I were to kill all of them. Hence asking for 500,000 primordial stones is already rather merciful on my part." Jian Wushuang smiled. 500,000 primordial stones was truly a big number. However, the 18 prefectures had been dominating the Dark Thunder territory for so many years, and surely had accumulated an incredible amount of treasures. The 3 prefectures that he previously annihilated were the weakest ones. Even then, he managed to obtain 90,000 primordial stones from them, and other treasures that were worth even more. Infernal Heart, Green Flame, and Mysterious Shade Prefecture's possessions must surely be extraordinary, since they have peak ultimate gods on their helm. Perhaps it would not be difficult for each of them to pay 100,000 pieces, while the rest could be split among the other prefectures, without exactly costing them an arm and a leg. Jian Wushuang did of course think of annihilating the 15 prefectures as well. However, that did not guarantee the peacefulness of Dark Thunder territory. On the contrary, it would become even more chaotic as countless thievery powers would begin to fight for their chances, and new powers would emerge in different corners at the end. That much was for certain. Besides, it was too radical of a movement if he destroyed all 15 prefectures in one go, as the many clans in the northern Darkstar continent would definitely receive the news immediately, and the northern Darkstar territorial lord would definitely notice him. He had not developed his sword world yet, hence he was not confident to be able to defeat or kill the territorial lord. Therefore, it would be best not to catch the territorial lord's attention. I'm not extremely close to developing the sword world. I have no other ways but to find other opportunities. I'll be wandering around in the Dark Thunder territory in the days to come while continuing to study and cultivate. I'll also use the thieves around to train my sword principle and techniques." Jian Wushuang smiled and made a decision. He needed to upgrade his sword principle, his sword skills as well. He previously spent most of his time raising his law awareness and sword principle, while in seclusion, without inventing better sword techniques. The space-time and transmigration sword techniques could both use an upgrade. It would be best to spar with an opponent, so that he could keep experimenting to upgrade those sword techniques. Dark Thunder Territory's thieves and criminals had naturally become his main targets. Even though their abilities were weak and posed no threat to him, it was more than enough for him to train his sword techniques. Jian Wushuang moved his figure at that moment, and the golden robe, golden glass armor he wore was kept inside the interspatial ring, only to be replaced by a normal black robe. His was too infamous in the Dark Thunder Territory, such that everybody knew he wore a golden robe and carried a long sword on his back. The thieves in the territory would most probably not get close if they saw him. Therefore, he slightly changed his image by wearing a black robe instead. Besides that, he stopped using the black stone to cover up his divine power breath, and instead let out his primary stage ultimate god's divine power breath. A black-robed man who was carrying a long sword on his back and projecting a primary stage ultimate god's divine power breath would make those thieves let their guard down and attack him without hesitation. He could then use them as his training mates. After putting on his disguise, Jian Wushuang began to wander freely in the Dark Thunder Territory. His wandering had very soon caught the eye of various thieves around. Furthermore, the number of thieves in the central area was great and quite capable. They need not worry too much about the primary stage ultimate god Jian Wushuang. Not long after, a band of thieves came up to him. "Hey kid, give us all the treasures in your interspatial ring, and we'll probably let you live. Otherwise die." The leader, a muscular man holding a huge axe, fiercely stared at Jian Wushuang while the remaining thieves surrounded Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang began to smile demonically upon looking at that sight. "I'll start with all of you." Jian Wushuang moved. He could suppress his divine power, or unleash it to the primary stage ultimate god level, with many primary stage ultimate gods, not even as strong in comparison to himself. He had also held back a great deal of his law understanding by using only his sword skills, and relying on his sword principle understanding, before starting an intense fight with the thieves. There were a total of 3 primary stage ultimate god among the thieves, with the rest of them being powerful divine demons. Even then, the band of thieves was still being completely defeated by him, after a round of battle, with most either dead or escaped. Jian Wushuang did not pursue them, and continued wandering around. Chapter 2565. Established Sword World. Jian Wushuang journeyed the world alone with a sword in his hand, during which he constantly honed his swordsmanship. Through hard practices and repeated fights with the bandits, he gained breadth and depth of sword principles knowledge, as he continued innovating his space-time and transmigration sword techniques. Time quickly flew past. In a flash, Jian Wushuang had been wandering in the Dark Thunder Territory for a year and 3 months. He finally made a pit stop. On a snow-covered mountain top, Jian Wushuang sat cross-legged with his eyes slightly closed. In his mind, he recalled the many things he felt during the 9-day battle with the Infernal Heart Prefecture governor. The perfect sword world was different from the one Jian Wushuang knew. Jian Wushuang also recalled the many sword principle insights left by the Purple Blood Saint, specifically the introduction part about the sword world. In the end, Jian Wushuang reminisced about his journey for the past 1 year and 3 months, as well as the events he encountered in Dark Thunder Territory, such as the bandits who looted and fought wildly. Life seemed to be fragile yet so tenacious. He saw a peak divine demon realm cultivator, who submitted to a bandit to survive. She just wanted to live. The world life. Jian Wushuang murmured under his breath as he set his heart and mind to achieve the enlightenment of all beings. I get it. I finally know what's missing life. A complete world isn't about its frame or outlook. Its core value lies in the life within. The purpose of a world from birth to evolution is the development of life and living beings. Even the world itself is a form of life. From formation to demise, the process is equivalent to birth, aging, sickness, and death of a person, all of which are stages of life. I've never been able to establish my sword world, because I've always seen it as a world without life. Although I've understood all kinds of esotericism, I lacked an understanding of life. The evolution of the world is the evolution of life. In search of enlightenment, Jian Wushuang was truly delighted by what unfolded for him. He remained seated on the top of the mountain, but a smile slowly began to spread on his face. Let's begin. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath and began to open up his sword world inside his body. A weak sword intent grew in his body like a germinating seed. It began to take root and sprout before slowly spreading through continuous evolution. It did not take long for a small complete sword world to open up in his body. The sword world is done. Jian Wushuang was pleasantly surprised. He had long achieved the conditions for opening up the sword world, and the only part lacking was an understanding of life. The process became easier the moment he had broken through the bottleneck and attained enlightenment. However, he had only established a prototype of the sword world, as it was small and needed continuous improvement. The sword principle knowledge Purple Blood Saint left mentioned that the sword world's power is determined by the cultivator. The larger the sword world, the more stable it is, and the stronger its power. I'll have to work on improving it. The sword world within Jian Wushuang's body, which was filled with endless sword intent, began its rapid expansion. It was originally a small and weak world, but expanded rapidly to tens, hundreds, and up to thousands of miles. However, it was contained within his body no matter how it spread. It was nothing like the world outside. In a very brief moment, the sword world in Jian Wushuang's body had spread to 10,000 miles. This 10,000 miles of sword world should be what's normal among many sword principle cultivators. Many cultivators are only at this level, but it's still far from my limit. Let's continue. Jian Wushuang continued expanding his sword world. He did not meet any hindrance. It grew from 10,000 to 20,000 and soon reached 30,000 miles. Shortly after, his sword world expanded to 50,000 miles, and it was still rapidly expanding. 50,000 miles of sword world is considered formidable among sword principle cultivators, but it isn't considered top-rated. Some powerful sword principle experts can establish up to 80 or even 90,000 miles of sword world. At that level, the sword world established would be highly destructive. It shouldn't be difficult for me to reach that level as well. Jian Wushuang was confident of establishing a sword world ranging from 80,000 to 90,000 miles. True to his expectations, it quickly grew to 90,000 miles as his sword world continued to expand. However, that was not the end, as it continued to grow at an astounding speed. 91,000, 92,000, 95,000 and up till 99,999 miles. 9 is the number of heaven and earth. 99,999 miles is the end of what a sword world could achieve. It's the ultimate achievement for any principal world. Jian Wushuang muttered. The Purple Blood Saint mentioned this in his insight records. A principal world of 90,000 miles was scarce in the entire ancient god domain like a hen's teeth. Having reached 99,999 miles was the extreme level one could achieve. It was considered perfect, and perhaps only 2 to 3 had ever achieved such in the entire ancient god domain at any time. Purple Blood Saint was well-traveled in his lifetime, and had never met someone who perfected their principal world. Purple Blood Saint deemed it was seemingly impossible for a principal world to go beyond 99,999 miles. Nonetheless, his sword world continued to expand for one last mile, right after Jian Wushuang's 99,999 miles achievement, before it finally came to a stop. 100,000 miles. Jian Wushuang's sword world ended at 100,000 miles. It was 1 mile more than 99,999 miles. One should not belittle that 1 mile, as if 99,999 miles was the heavenly ultimate level, then Jian Wushuang's level was beyond that ultimate level. That 1 mile marked the completion of his sword world. That was truly a perfect sword world, much better than the ultimate 99,999 miles level. 100,000 miles. A perfect sword world indeed. Jian Wushuang slowly opened his eyes with a hint of surprise and joy within it. Chapter 2566, Overpower. Jian Wushuang was the only perfect chaotic creature. A perfect chaotic creature with all aspects of him being truly perfect. A sword world was a principal world, just like any other powers within his body. Therefore it had been truly perfected like himself. Haha. According to Purple Blood Saint, a sword world with 50,000 miles is formidable, while 80 to 90,000 miles is considered terrifying. How will he rate my perfect sword world that's 100,000 miles? Jian Wushuang laughed out loud. His sword world was established at 100,000 miles. Through his mind power, a terrifying sword intent filled heaven and earth as he displayed the full power and potential of his sword world. The appearance of his sword world was not much different from others. However, one would be able to feel an incredible power that filled every corner if one was within his sword world. Well, I shall wait for the opportunity to try out my sword world's power on someone. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly before getting up. After journeying for 1 year and 3 months, my strength has skyrocketed from finally establishing my perfect sword world. My sword skills have also tremendously improved in the past year or so, and I've also innovated some space-time and transmigration sword techniques. I am happy with making such big improvements. It's time to head back. I'll drop by Internal Heart Prefecture before returning to Northern Darkstar Continent. Jian Wushuang put on his golden glass armor and used the black stone to conceal his divine power breath before heading toward the Infernal Heart Prefecture. Infernal Heart Prefecture remained Dark Thunder Territory's top prefecture, with its governor recognized as the first-ranked expert. Even though the governor had lost face because of Jian Wushuang's arrival, everyone was being rather understanding. After all, his opponent, Jian Wushuang, was someone who possessed the combat prowess of an Earth Ultimate God. As soon as Jian Wushuang appeared in the void above the Infernal Heart Prefecture's lair, the bandits went into a state of tumult. In just a brief moment, the Infernal Heart Prefecture governor personally went up to Jian Wushuang. Master Jian, greeted the governor respectfully. How's the progress of those matters I asked the 15 prefectures to prepare? Jian Wushuang indifferently asked. They're ready. The governor immediately took out an interspatial ring. Jian Wushuang took the ring and scanned it. He saw there were indeed 500,000 primordial stones, and nodded slightly. Governor, I'm about to leave the Dark Thunder Territory. Let's duel again before I go. Jian Wushuang was straightforward. The Infernal Heart Prefecture governor shuddered at the suggestion as his face turned chalk white. He would never forget the time when he was Jian Wushuang's training partner for 9 days. The unpleasant experience was indelible. He could not help but wonder if Jian Wushuang would call him to be his training partner again. Don't worry, it won't take long this time. I just want to use your sword world to experiment with something, said Jian Wushuang. The governor breathed a sigh of relief. He did not hesitate, and immediately displayed his sword world. Jian Wushuang looked up at the surrounding sword world, before faintly smiling, and instantly unleashed his sword world. Rumble! As soon as Jian Wushuang's sword world appeared, the governor's sword world began to recede and retreat at an astonishing speed. The governor's sword world was reduced to only a small circumference around him almost instantly. How is it possible? My sword world is 20,000 miles. How could it be easily compressed to such a state in a jiffy? The governor's eyes widened in disbelief. He was especially shocked when he felt the vast oppression rising within his body, which greatly restricted his sword skills and strength. Both were sword worlds, but why was his opponent's world so easily crushed his? I have only utilized 70% of the power, which is equivalent to unleashing a 70,000 miles sword world, and yet the Infernal Heart Prefecture governor's sword world was reduced into this state. If I utilize my full potential, what could have happened to his sword world? Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes as he was a little surprised by his discovery. He had underestimated the power of his perfect sword world. No doubt successfully establishing his perfect sword world had improved his strength by leaps and bounds. Governor, thank you very much. Goodbye. Jian Wushuang withdrew his sword world and gave the governor a faint smile before leaving. The governor finally let out a long sigh after Jian Wushuang had left and completely disappeared from his sight. Jiani was seeking a breakthrough in sword principle with the help of my sword world, but he has opened up his powerful sword world after a little more than a year. the Infernal Heart Prefecture governor secretly and silently praised. His sword world must be at least 70 to 80,000 miles, for my 20,000 miles of sword world to be instantly compressed into a lamentable state. Well, it's really amazing. Fortunately, he has finally left. I hope he'll never step into the Dark Thunder territory again. After getting 500,000 primordial stones from Infernal Heart Prefecture, Jian Wushuang directly left the Dark Thunder territory. He returned to the northern Darkstar continent, once again more than a month later. Back to where he began his seclusion. He wanted to refine those 500,000 primordial stones, of course. Although the number of stones was far from allowing him to make a breakthrough and reach the high-level ultimate god realm, it would at least tremendously improve his strength. Such would help boost his confidence level while facing San Shouwang. Due to him being a primary stage ultimate god, his primordial stone's absorption and refinement speed were completely at a new level. He had only spent less than 3 months to refine those 500,000 stones and improved his divine powers. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes in the secret chamber with a thick light flashing within his eyes. More than a year ago, I just made a breakthrough to the primary stage ultimate god, and am confident I'll be able to fight head-on with the territorial lord with even an advantage after upgrading my secret techniques. Now that both my sword skills and law understanding have been improved in addition to the success of establishing my perfect sword world, I have enough strength to defeat San Shouwang. I have the confidence to kill him even if he has a lot of hidden cards. It's time to go for him after the long wait, Jian Wushuang decided in his heart. He came out of his seclusion immediately and found Xiao Tiexin before informing her of his decision. Chapter 2567. Take action, Mr. Jian. Are you going to take action against San Shouwang? Xiao Tiexin looked at Jian Wushuang closely, eager to know his answer. Jian Wushuang nodded. Yes. Are you confident? Xiao Tiexin was a little worried. In the battle between the San Shouwang and Pei Qi, the strength they displayed was impressive and had completely surpassed the capabilities of peak ultimate gods. According to Jian Wushuang, San Shouwang had reserved some of his strength during the battle. Don't worry. I'm confident when I decide to make a move. Jian Wushuang smiled. However, the current problem is that after the battle with Pei Qi, San Shouwang began his seclusion and announced that he won't be accepting any duel challenge in the next 1,000 years. If that's the case, I won't be able to challenge him. He had certain authorities as a stellar region territorial lord. Even if an opponent challenged the territorial lord could choose to accept the challenge within 1,000 years. Having said that, there was a possibility it could be delayed for up to 1,000 years. San Shouwang had publicly announced that he would like to cease all battles for 1,000 years. Therefore, even if Jian Wushuang decided to exhaust all conditions to challenge San Shouwang, there was a possibility it would only happen after 1,000 years. That was far too long for Jian Wushuang in his current life. He did not have time to wait around for 1,000 years. Indeed, now that San Shouwang has avoided the invitations for battles, he can just simply ignore you. Even if you force his hand by leveraging on your strength, it's still quite impossible. He has control over a powerful and formidable official army after all. Xiao Tiexin looked straight at Jian Wushuang. Although they're just ordinary gods, they're extremely large in number. The most important matter is that they are a complete battalion with unique military formation methods. Under normal circumstances, a battalion consisting of 1,000 soldiers, united to deploy strategic military formations, is usually enough to compete against the average Earth ultimate god. There are 10,000 soldiers in the official army grouped into 10 battalions. That's equivalent to the strength of 10 Earth ultimate gods. Mr. Jian, although you're powerful, you may not be able to single-handedly defeat all 10 military formations. Jian Wushuang simply nodded. He had heard about the official army's strength. Normally, the official army would not interfere if San Shouwang wanted to accept any challenges or fights. However, San Shouwang had announced that he would not be accepting any challenges at the moment. The official army would step in should Jian Wushuang insist on a forceful move. It won't work if I issue a challenge to him, or force my way to his location. I'm left with the last option, which is to lure him out of his seclusion and make him initiate the flight with me, said Jian Wushuang. Perhaps an irresistible benefit or a piece of treasure will fish out his insatiable greed. I'll be out for sure so long there's something he's interested in. Such a treasure. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes as he thought about his options. He possessed a piece of treasure befitting the descriptions. Nonetheless, there would be some risks he would have to handle due to it. Furthermore, the official army was another issue he had to be mindful of. By the way, have there been any major events in the northern Darkstar continent during my absence? How's the Sita clan? Jian Wushuang suddenly asked and changed the subject. Mr. Jian, you've only been away for more than a year, so nothing major happened. However, the Sita clan's situation is becoming worse, said Xiao Tiexin. Oh, what happened? Jian Wushuang asked. I've been staying in the northern Darkstar continent during this period and kept in touch with the Sita clan. I can see that the Sita clan has become tenser during this period as the outside world's pressure has built up. There's news that San Shouwang was about to take action against the Sita clan. So the Sita clan has probably been quite apprehensive, explained Xiao Tiexin. So San Shouwang is really going to do something to the Sita clan, huh? Jian Wushuang secretly nodded. The Sita clan was a powerful clan, and the fact that it lacked an Earth ultimate god was like a huge cake being placed in front of San Shouwang. It was too enticing. San Shouwang would probably try his best to restrain himself from exposing the ugly side of his voracious greed. However, he would chow down that piece of cake. The Sita clan has helped me a lot. I'll go over and have a look. Jian Wushuang smiled. Jian Wushuang took Xiao Tiexin to the Sita mansion. Sita Yuan, the Sita clan leader, personally greeted him at the door when he knew that Jian Wushuang visited. The two of them were soon sitting at the Sita mansion's discussion hall. Besides Sita Yuan, several Sita clan elders were also present. The peak ultimate god realm elders were the Sita clan's members with the highest cultivation level. Mr. Jian, I haven't seen you for ages, but you look great as usual. Zhuge Yuan took the initiative to greet him. I've been well. The Sita clan leader, and everyone from the Sita clan, must have been feeling quite troubled recently, I assume? Jian Wushuang smiled. Sita Yuan and the Sita clan elders were startled. Mr. Jian, what do you mean? Sita Yuan looked over. Well, clan leader, we know what's going on. Although I haven't been in the northern Darkstar continent recently, I'm aware of what's been going on here. San Shouwang couldn't wait to take action against the Sita clan, could he? Jian Wushuang smiled. Sita Yuan's eyes widened as he said, Mr. Jian is right. Judging from the official army's activities during this period, San Shouwang has been showing his eagerness to take action against the Sita clan, and we're not sure if we'll be able to survive the disaster this time around. Jian Wushuang saw the worry written across the faces of Sita Yuan and the Sita clan elders. That was understandable. They saw what had happened to the Xiao clan after all. The Sita clan's overall strength was not much different to the Xiao clan, with their only advantage of having a few more allies. Nonetheless, the Sita clan would suffer the same plight if San Shouwang made up his mind to topple their clan. Clan leader, let's be frank. I'm here because the Sita clan was kind to me before, so I'd like to offer my help to resolve this crisis. Jian Wushuang offered up his services to them. Sita Yuan and the elders exchanged looks before standing up and thanking Jian Wushuang upon hearing that. We're extremely grateful that Mr. Jian is willing to help us who are in trouble. Clan leader, don't thank me too early. You should listen to the reason why I've offered my help, said Jian Wushuang mysteriously. Your reason? Sita Yuan looked over quizzically. What is it? Jian Wushuang did not answer immediately. Instead, he looked wearily at the surrounding elders. Sita Yuan understood what Jian Wushuang meant and assured him. Mr. Jian, don't worry. These elders are the Sita clan's pillars. They know everything that I know. There's no need to hide anything from them. Chapter 2568. Killing San Shouwang. In that case, I'll be frank. Under Sita Yuan's expectant gaze, Jian Wushuang scratched his nose and slowly said, My intention is simple. I want to kill San Shouwang and replace him. Kill San Shouwang and replace him. Jian Wushuang made it sound so casual, like it was such an easy matter. However, it was like a blockbuster bomb going off in their minds to Situ Yuan and the elders. Situ Yuan and the elders were flabbergasted as they turned to look at Jian Wushuang in horror. Mr. Jianyi, are you joking? Situ Yuan tried to remain calm. I certainly don't have time to crack such a joke. I want to kill him, and we'll need a little help from the Situ clan, of course. Jian Wushuang smiled. I wonder what Mr. Jianyi wants us to do? Situ Yuan asked. I don't need the Situ clan to get publicly involved or be present in the fight with San Shouwang. I'll handle him by myself. However, the official army under him is such a nuisance, said Jian Wushuang in a low voice. I know the Situ clan is well connected and has good relationships with the army commanders and captains. I need the Situ clan to send the official army away from the northern Darkstar continent. You can perhaps assign them some tasks in the wilderness, or get them to solve some obstacles far away. In short, I don't want to be interrupted by the official army when battling San Shouwang. That's impossible. Situ Yuan shook his head. The Situ clan is indeed close with some of the army commanders and captains. However, our relationship bonds aren't enough for us to get them to do anything or assign them a task elsewhere. There's no way we'd be able to send them away from here. Well, if there is a will, there is a way. Why don't you give it a try? Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. I can give you some time to consider. I'll come back tomorrow for your decision. Let me tell you that you'll only have one chance. If you miss it, there won't be next time. Shiner, let's go. Jian Wushuang left without turning back. After they left the Situ mansion, Mr. Jianyi, don't you think you're a bit crude? Xiao Tiexin looked over. Crude? It's a simple matter, so there's no need to beat around the bush. Jian Wushuang smiled. True. Xiao Tiexin nodded. However, you're going to kill San Shouwang, the northern Darkstar continent's territorial lord. I'm afraid the Situ clan doesn't dare to help you. No, they'll help me. Jian Wushuang gave a confident smile. Why do you think so? Xiao Tiexin asked in puzzlement. Because they have no choice. Jian Wushuang looked extremely confident. He did not explain further, and left right after. At the Situ mansion in a magnificent meeting room, a heavy restrictive shield covered the entire meeting room. Situ Yuan and the elders were seated while donning extremely solemn expressions. Fellow elders, what do you think about today's affairs? Situ Yuan asked. What else could we think? Kill San Shouwang? Jianyi must be crazy. Who does he think he is? A red-haired elder curled his lips. What a joke. As the northern Darkstar continent's territorial lord, San Shouwang was recognized as the most powerful man on the continent. He was challenged 4 times since becoming a territorial lord, and killed 3 Earth ultimate gods during these challenges. He had proven himself to be so powerful. Who would simply boast being able to kill him? I also think it's weird. An elderly woman with a snakehead crutch softly said. Let's not discuss whether Jianyi can kill San Shouwang. Even if he can, why will he want to do it? As far as we know, he came to the northern Darkstar continent not too long ago, and has always been a lone ranger with no conflicts against San Shouwang. Even if he coveted the territorial lord position, he could always openly challenge San Shouwang. All he needed was to wait a little longer. However, he seems like he can't wait to take action, and wants the Situ clan to help send the official army away. It's just weird. Yes, I think Jianyi is very likely with San Shouwang, who's eager to take action against the Situ family, but lacks an opportunity or excuse to do so. We definitely cannot agree to help him out if he's with San Shouwang. Once we agree to help him, we'll fall into the trap, and San Shouwang will use this excuse to destroy us. When the time comes, even our allied experts won't be able to help us, said a young-looking white-haired old man. Clan leader, we can't agree to this. Yes, the Situ clan will be walking on thin ice once we've agreed to it. The 3 peak ultimate gods elders present unanimously disagreed to help Jian Wushuang. However, Situ Yuan frowned after listening to the elders before he mumbled. I think Jianyi isn't on San Shouwang's side for certain, and I also feel he has a reason to go against San Shouwang. Oh, what's the reason? The 3 elders immediately looked toward him. Have three elders noticed the veiled woman standing next to Jianyi? Situ Yuan asked. The three elders looked at each other. They indeed noticed the veiled woman, but did not care too much about her. I've kept in touch with the veiled woman, and even gotten her background checked. Although she has hidden information about herself well, I managed to find out things about her. The veiled woman is Xiao Tiexin, the Xiao clan's only survivor. Situ Yuan said. What? The three elders were taken aback. Xiao Tiexin? The Xiao clan's eldest young miss? She's still alive and daringly appear in the northern Darkstar continent? That's right. Situ Yuan smiled faintly. How was the Xiao clan destroyed and how deeply rooted was Xiao Taixin's hatred toward San Shouwang? Three elders probably know about it, but Xiao Tiexin has been by Jianyi's side. Even though Jianyi claims that Xiao Tiexin is his younger sister, I think she's Jianyi's follower. Xiao Tiexin used to be the eldest young miss of a large family, but willingly followed Jianyi. I'm sure Jianyi must have promised her something, perhaps to kill San Shouwang and avenge her mother. The three elders looked at each other with shocks flashing across their eyes. If the veiled woman was Xiao Tiexin, then everything made perfect sense. Chapter 2569. Bet for high stakes. The atmosphere was extremely solemn in the meeting room. Situ Yuan continued. Putting aside Jianyi's origins and background, we can be sure that he's set to go against San Shouwang. The point is we have no idea if he has the capabilities to do so. We have to figure out if Jianyi is just being arrogant and overconfident, or does he really does have the capabilities? Clan leader, are you saying the Sita clan will help Jianyi if he's capable of standing up against San Shouwang in a duel? Asked the old woman. Why don't we bet on his capabilities? Situ Yuan grinned. Bet on it. The three elders were startled. Yes, let's make a bet. Situ Yuan solemnly said. San Shouwang has made it clear that he intends to topple the Sita clan, so we must be well prepared for the attack. Once he attacks, I'm afraid the Sita clan won't stand any chance against him. In that case, why don't we take a chance? Let's place our bets on Jianyi. We help him get rid of the official army and deal with San Shouwang. If he manages to kill San Shouwang and replace him as the new territorial lord, the Sita clan's plight will be lifted. We might even end up being elevated to the same rank as the Shi clan and Wu clan, the northern Darkstar continent's top-tier clans. Based on our relationship with Jianyi, the three elders looked at each other before the old woman asked, what if we lose the bet? If we lose, then we're doomed. We'll end up like the Xiao clan, without any means to defend ourselves. Situ Yuan's voice sank when he brought that up. However, we're not entirely the same as the Xiao clan, who had been passive until the day they were annihilated by San Shouwang. They did not have a plan B, and as the result, Xiao Tiexin was Xiao clan's only survivor. We'll take the initiative to move some of our disciples away, so that even if the Situ clan is destroyed in the end, we won't be as miserable as the Xiao clan. The three elders went silent. They had to admit they were indeed in a difficult situation from deciding the Situ clan's life and death. One wrong move would cause a miserable defeat, a correct move. The old woman's brows were knitted together as she dwelled further into the consequences of both choices. Even if we win the bet, we might not end up like your presumptions, as we don't really know Jianyi. Though he's indebted to us, many in this world are ungrateful. He used some lame excuses against the mid-tier clans, just to get some primordial stones. How can we be sure that he won't be mean to us after becoming the new territorial lord? Indeed, that's why I've said it's a tough bet. Not only are we betting on Jianyi being capable of killing San Shouwang, but we're also betting on his character. We're placing a bet that he'll honor his words, said Situ Yuan solemnly. The three elders frowned deeper. They were making a high-stake bet with a price too great to be paid if they lost the bet. The three elders were indecisive. Situ Yuan continued speaking. Three elders, we have no choice. The fate of our clan is on the line. Jianyi is the rope for us to get off the cliff's edge. The rope may not be strong, and we might still end up falling to our death. But if we don't catch it, we may be able to live a little longer, but we'll still end up dying for sure. Situ Yuan's analogy was apt, and convinced the three elders. After careful consideration, they agreed that the Situ clan was left with no other choice. Without Jian Wushuang, they might live a little longer before suffering a miserable death, but Jian Wushuang had given them faint hope of possible survival. It was a faint hope but still better than nothing. After a brief discussion between the three elders, the old woman made a solemn decision. Clan leader will listen to you. You can call the shots. Okay, let's bet on the basis that Jiani must have the strength to topple San Shouwang. He's required to prove himself to us. Let's look for him now, Situ Yuan exclaimed. Now, didn't he say he's coming tomorrow? The old woman was surprised. No, let's go find him now. The earlier we make a decision, the more time we have to plan for it. Situ Yuan was decisive. He immediately brought the three elders to where Jian Wushuang stayed. It was late at night, and Jian Wushuang was quietly having tea in the courtyard with Xiao Tiexin by his side. Mr. Jianyi, are you sure the Situ clan will agree to help you out? Will they come to you tonight? Xiao Tiexin's voice sounded a little strange. I'm quite good at reading people. I can see that Situ Yuan is smart and courageous. Otherwise, he won't be hailed as the clan leader when he's just a high-level ultimate god. He's well aware of the Situ clan's plight, so why won't he latch onto the only opportunity he has, which is me, to get out of this sticky situation? Jian Wushuang smiled. He felt something while he was only halfway through his cup of tea. They are here. Jian Wushuang raised his head and looked toward the void above with a faint smile on his face. 4 figures had indeed come gliding down side by side in the night sky. They soon arrived at the courtyard. Clan leader, I've been waiting for a long time. Jian Wushuang's light laughter rang in the courtyard. Mr. Jian, he seems to have figured we'd be here. Situ Yuan looked calmly at Jian Wushuang. Of course, I believe the clan leader will make the right choice. Please have a seat. Jian Wushuang waved his hand, and a few seats instantly appeared in the courtyard. Situ Yuan and the 3 elders sat down. Mr. Jianyi, I've carefully discussed with the 3 elders, and the Situ clan can help you, but the risk is too high for us. Therefore, we need to be assured that you have the capabilities to trounce San Shouwang. Situ Yuan was quite straightforward. Well, I understand where you're coming from. Showing my powers is but a simple task. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly before shifting his body, as a terrifying burst of divine aura emanated from him. His divine aura filled every corner of the courtyard, but did not escape from its boundaries. Situ Yuan and the 3 elders felt its powers. Chapter 2570. Let's do it, this divine aura. It's the divine aura of an Earth Ultimate God. How is that possible? He hasn't physically reached the Earth Ultimate God realm, but already possesses such a divine aura. Does that mean he has the strength of an ultimate god? The 3 elders looked at Jian Wushuang with widened eyes from being astounded. Jian Wushuang merely smiled before the peak ultimate god divine power breath in his body began to rise at an astonishing speed. The terrifying power continued to soar higher. It's increasing. Both his divine aura and divine powers are increasing. Such terrifying powers are no weaker than San Shouwang. It seems much stronger. The 3 elders were quite excited, but Situ Yuan remained worried. It doesn't prove much even if your divine aura and divine powers are comparable to an Earth Ultimate God, commended Situ Yuan. How about this if it's not enough? Jian Wushuang smiled as he discharged an infinite sword intent, and formed a sword world, which covered the entire courtyard. Situ Yuan and the 3 elders who were in the sword world instantly felt an unprecedented restrictive force. The force was far beyond their imagination, and much stronger than the restrictive force of any principal world they had ever encountered. This is too strong. How can a principal world be so strong? Unbelievable. I've never seen such a horrifying principal world. The 3 elders stared at their surroundings in horror. Finally, Situ Yuan no longer furrowed his brows. Mr. Jianyi, I can now be sure that you do have the strength to challenge and even defeat San Shouwang, said Situ Yuan. Jian Wushuang responded to his words with a smile before withdrawing his divine powers and discharged the sword world. It only then did the 3 elders exhale deeply. Under the sword world's intense oppression and divine powers, they felt rather uncomfortable even though they were peak ultimate gods. I've proven my strength. Now what can the Sita clan do to help make this plan work? Jian Wushuang asked. Just like what you've suggested before. We'll try our best to send the official army away. However, we can't transfer all of them out of the northern Darkstar continent. I can at most send around half of them away, which is about 5 to 6 battalions. As for the remaining few battalions, we'll find ways to prevent them from forming into a complete battalion, such that they'll be unable to make up a 1,000-men battalion, even if they are called to action. In that case, they won't be able to display their military formation's full potential. That's the most we can do. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. It'll be good enough to have 5 or 6 battalions transferred somewhere else to reduce the remaining military's power. Mr. Jianyi, when will you be ready? Sita Yuan asked. I'm ready and can set my plans in motion at any moment, said Jian Wushuang. If that's the case, I'll make the arrangements tomorrow. After everything is done, I'll send a message to inform Mr. Jianyi, said Sita Yuan. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded. We'll leave now to start with the preparations. Goodbye. Sita Yuan and the 3 elders left. The Sita clan was really efficient, or perhaps also exceptionally well connected. Within just half a month, Sita Yuan had personally sent a message to Jian Wushuang. Mr. Jianyi, 6 out of 10 official army battalions have now been transferred away from the northern Darkstar continent, while the remaining 4 battalions are at their incomplete state. You can act now. So it begins. Jian Wushuang's sharp and cold gaze sent shivers down Xiao Taixin's spine. Tiexin ill avenged the Xiao clan. Unfortunately, I can't let you kill San Shouwang yourself, said Jian Wushuang. I'm grateful that Mr. Jianyi is willing to avenge my clan. You've been really kind to us. I swear I'll forever follow Mr. Jianyi, no my lord. Xiao Tiexin knelt in front of Jian Wushuang. Come, stand up. Jian Wushuang waved his hand and said, I'll not refuse since you've decided. You can be my follower, and maid from now on, but don't call me lord. It's awkward to hear you say that. Call me master instead. One yes, master. Xiao Tiexin got up. Jian Wushuang could not help but recall his maid, Qiu Yue, from his previous life while looking at Xiao Tiexin. He wondered how she was faring in the eternal chaotic world. He shook his head and stopped himself from thinking too much. Shiner, go to the place I told you about and wait for me there, said Jian Wushuang. Master, you must be careful, said Xiao Tiexin before she left. Jian Wushuang went into the void ahead and departed. It did not take long before Jian Wushuang arrived at a giant mansion. The mansion was the Shi clan residence, one of the 3 top-tier clans in the northern Darkstar continent. Shi clan. A weird smile spread across Jian Wushuang's face as he looked downward at the mansion. Shi clan, come out and die. Jian Wushuang's loud bellow echoed between heaven and earth, which caused the Shi clan to be in turmoil. A large number of experts dashed out from the mansion and appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Jianyi, it's you? Shi Qianhan, the Shi clan leader, and many Shi clan elders glowered at Jian Wushuang with their eyes ablaze in fury. Shi Qianhan, after I won 160,000 primordial stones from the Blood Gladiators Challenge in the gladiatorial arena, owned by the Shi clan, you sent a peak ultimate god to hunt me down. I'm here to get even today. Go to hell. With an angry shout, Jian Wushuang immediately launched an attack. Everyone in the Shi clan was horrified. It was true that the Shi clan had sent someone after the 160,000 primordial stone, but were unable to retrieve it from Jian Wushuang. Thereafter, the 2 parties were no longer in conflict. Just when everyone thought the grievances between both parties had been resolved, Jian Wushuang decided out of the blue to launch an attack on the Shi clan by himself. You have a death's wish. Let's attack and kill him together. The Shi clan's experts began attacking. A war instantly broke out. Jian Wushuang showed much stronger combat power than the average peak ultimate gods. He fought single-handedly against Shi clan's 3 peak ultimate gods without being disadvantaged. However, Jian Wushuang quickly lost his superiority when the 4th and 5th Shi clan's peak ultimate gods joined the fray. The Shi clan's 5 peak ultimate gods desperately wanted to slay Jian Wushuang, but discovered something during the battle. The armor he's wearing seems to be very powerful. I stabbed my spear into him with a frontal shot, but he looks unscathed. The armor he's wearing is a heavenly treasure for sure. The Sher clan expert's eyes turned red at these statements. Chapter 2571. Prize Treasure. Haha, Sher clan. I don't have time to play with you. Jian Wushuang burst out in a fit of triumphant laughter with his voice echoing across the sky, as he left the perplexed Sher clan experts behind. Even though the Sher clan experts tried their best to hold Jian Wushuang back, they failed miserably, and could only watch him leave right under their noses. Damn, he's gone. Sher Qianhan stood there with a stony expression. A Sher clan elder said, "There's no way we could stop him. He's extremely strong, and is much stronger than any of us. The key is that his physical protective capabilities are strong. Our 5 peak ultimate gods teamed up, and yet it was impossible to kill him. The battle armor he wore is a heavenly treasure for sure. How did he acquire such an amazing treasure?" Everyone in the Sher clan was clamoring enthusiastically over the treasured armor. No one was hurt in the battle as the Sher clan did not suffer any damages, and Jian Wushuang was also left unscathed. After the incident, news that Jian Wushuang possessed a heavenly treasure armor spread like wildfire throughout the northern Darkstar continent. Countless clans and experts in the northern Darkstar continent showed interest in the news. It was a piece of heavenly treasure after all. Heavenly treasures were invaluable to an Earth ultimate god, especially when most of them did not even have one. The armor caused an uproar across the entire northern Darkstar continent. In the most central part of the northern Darkstar continent, a huge underground palace was surrounded by numerous heavy restrictive shields within the Territorial Lord's mansion. The Territorial Lord, also known as San Shouwang, was seated alone when suddenly, a figure appeared outside the restrictive shield to deliver a message. San Shouwang opened his eyes with slightly furrowed brows. With a wave of his hand, all the restrictive shields melted away as a burly man walked in. The burly man was a commander of the official army. "Didn't I say not to disturb me within these 1,000 years?" San Shouwang's voice was cold and laced with anger written all over his face. "I'm sorry, Territorial Lord. I've got a piece of news which is very important to you. It's for that reason I came immediately to send this message," said the burly man. "Oh." The anger on his face gradually faded. "Tell me about it," the burly man said. "Not long ago, an expert called Jiani broke into the Sher clan mansion and fought against Sher clan's 5 peak ultimate gods. The 5 peak ultimate gods were unable to defeat him because he wore incredibly powerful armors. Many experts present at the time believed the armor he wore was a piece of heavenly treasure." "What did you say?" San Shouwang sprang up with widened eyes widening as he stared intensely at the burly man. "Heavenly treasure? You mean Jian Yi has a heavenly treasure armor?" San Shouwang's eyes flashed with great interest from excitement. "I am not too sure whether it's a piece of heavenly treasure or otherwise, but it fits the description judging from the battle armor's powers. Even if it's not a heavenly treasure, it's at least a top natural treasure. I received this news and immediately came here to notify you about it, Territorial Lord," explained the burly man. "Haha, how lucky am I. God must also be helping me." San Shouwang laughed heartily, with his maniacal-sounding laughter. "Heavenly treasure? Even though I already have one heavenly treasure on hand, it's just an ordinary one. A defensive heavenly treasure is 10 times more precious than an offensive heavenly treasure. How great it is to have such a rare piece of treasure appear before my eyes. Furthermore, its owner is just a peak ultimate god?" An offensive heavenly treasure weapon was enough to move San Shouwang's heart, but would not tickle his greed. A defensive heavenly treasure was a different story. "I learned that the Destruction Law and Destruction Divine Armor is sufficiently powerful as a protective shield. Unfortunately, I've always lacked suitable and powerful armor. If I have both protective mechanisms, what Earth ultimate god could cause any harm to me? And now, where is Jiani?" San Shouwang asked. The burly man said, "He's still in the northern Darkstar continent. I'm afraid he's been targeted by all the other clans, especially the 3 top-tier clans. The Sher clan, Wu clan, and Sita clan would be keen to lay their hands on this treasure." "Do they even deserve this armor?" San Shouwang sneered. They may still have a chance if I don't show up. However, they'll have to make way for me now that I'm personally going out. Summon the official army now to accompany me and find Jianyi. Yes, answered the burly man as he nodded solemnly. After a short while, the burly man appeared in front of San Shouwang again. Territorial Lord, the 4th and 7th battalions have been summoned. Let's go. San Shouwang quickly rushed toward Jian Wushuang with the official army after giving a big wave. At the same time, Jian Wushuang had also received news from the Sita clan. Has he departed? He's only leading 2 battalions. The combat powers of those 2 battalions are incomplete, so they won't threaten me at all. Jian Wushuang sat on the attic's roof with a strange smile appearing on his face. Just like I thought, San Shouwang will definitely be keen when he finds out about it, and personally comes to snatch it away from me once I display the golden glass armor's powers. It's the exact outcome I desired. Jian Wushuang made a trip to the Shi clan to seemingly find fault with them. However, his real purpose was to show off the golden glass armor's powers to the public, and let news of it travel to San Shouwang. San Shouwang had announced his seclusion to the world, that he was no longer accepting any challenges. A heavenly treasure armor would be enough to make him go crazy. As expected, San Shouwang had made an appearance. It won't take more than half an hour to get here from the Territorial Lord's mansion. I might as well go there and wait for him. Jian Wushuang stood up before slowly moving into the void next to him. He felt the presence of a large number of cultivators around him, in the surrounding void along his path. The cultivators came from various clans like the Shi clan and Wu clan, but were only following him, as no one dared to launch an attack on Jian Wushuang. The clans had gotten news that San Shouwang was making a move. If the Territorial Lord was involved, the heavenly treasure armor on Jian Wushuang was not something clans like them could fight over. Chapter 2572. In the combat ring, Jian Wushuang arrived at a huge battlefield, while being accompanied by the various clans' experts. The battlefield was the combat ring. It's the combat ring. Jianyi has made his way to the combat ring? What's he doing at the combat ring? Is he going to fight against all the clan experts? Isn't that stupid of him? All the clan experts were shocked to see Jian Wushuang just arrived, and simply stood in the combat ring. He had become a public target with countless experts eager to get the heavenly treasure battle armor from him. Even the Territorial Lord had personally made a move. How could he remain so calm in the combat ring? Everyone was perplexed by his unusual behavior. However, no one attacked Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang stood leisurely in the combat ring with his eyes half closed as he quietly waited. In less than half an hour, swoop, 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 the sound of wind breaking echoed from across the nearby void. A large number of soldiers in battle armor emerged one after another, and formed 2 battalions, with each made up of nearly 1,000 people. In the center of both armies was a dark-skinned man wrapped in animal skins. The hair on his arms and face were extremely exuberant. The well-built man, akin to a brown bear, slowly made his way forward. He emanated a violent aura. The Territorial Lord is here. The people from various clans who gathered around the combat ring, as well as some experts who came from being attracted by the news, held their breath. They looked at the well-built man in absolute awe. In a void surrounding the combat ring was the Sita clan leader, Sita Yuan, and several other Sita clan elders. Clan leader. The second elder has already arrived at the Tianyang Mountains with the Sita clan's youngsters. They can use the Tianyang Mountain spatial passage to leave the northern Darkstar continent, or even the northern Darkstar territory, said an old woman with a snake head cane. All right. Sita Yuan nodded slightly. Let the second elder and the rest of them wait at the Tianyang Mountains first. We'll prepare for the worst outcome. Our every problem will be solved if Jianyi wins, but tell them to leave immediately if he loses. Yes. The old woman nodded solemnly. The Sita clan was in a life or death situation, and needed to be fully prepared for the worst possible outcome under such circumstances. In the blink of an eye, the well-built San Shouwang, who slowly came forward from a distance, appeared in the combat ring. On the side, the 2 army battalions formed a circle and surrounded the combat ring. Are you Jianyi? San Shouwang sounded arrogant with a voice laced with a hint of pride. San Shouwang. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes and slowly raised his head. I hear your battle armor is very powerful. It's not something an ordinary ultimate god can own. Take these 100,000 primordial stones and give the battle armor to me. I'll guarantee no one will dare trouble you in the future. San Shouwang waved his hand, and an interspatial ring appeared. As a territorial lord and the top-ranked expert in the northern Darkstar territory, he did not act rashly and launch an attack. Instead, he bargained at the price of 100,000 primordial stones for Jian Wushuang to willingly give the armor to him. 100,000 primordial stones was a large number for many clans, but it was only a drop in the ocean compared to the true value of a heavenly treasure battle armor. Jian Wushuang did not answer, but calmly looked at San Shouwang instead. San Shouwang, do you know why I appeared in this combat ring? San Shouwang narrowed his eyes slightly. I was waiting for you. Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently. I watched from the sides when you fought with Pei Qi in this combat ring. Unfortunately, you declared that you wouldn't accept a challenge for 1,000 years after that battle. I have no choice but to come up with something that will lure you out of seclusion. It's only after such will I be able to face off with you in the combat ring. A deathmatch battle. Jian Wushuang's voice was loud and resounded across the surrounding void. Many experts beside the combat ring were shocked upon hearing that. What did he say? A deathmatch battle? Is he going to have a deathmatch with the territorial lord? My God! He deliberately came to this combat ring just to wait for the territorial lord's appearance, so that he could challenge him in a battle? No, not only that. He even purposely showed off his heavenly treasure battle armor to entice the territorial lord. How gutsy! Isn't he just a peak ultimate god? The void around them clamored in turmoil. The people shot Jian Wushuang many surprised and strange gazes. They could understand why someone would want to challenge the territorial lord. However, the unexpected part was the challenger's realm being at only a peak ultimate god. There was a huge gap between a peak ultimate god and earth ultimate god, in terms of combat strength, and such was proven in the battle between San Shouwang and Pei Qi. However, why was Jian still so confident? Even San Shouwang himself was shocked to hear that from Jian Wushuang. After a brief moment of shock, San Shouwang laughed out loud. Boy, did I hear you correctly? A peak ultimate god dares to challenge me to a deathmatch battle? Jian Wushuang kept a straight face as he moved around, before exposing the golden robe on his body, which then spread out the magnificent and powerful aura of a heavenly treasure. This armor, as expected, it's indeed a heavenly treasure battle armor. There was a strong gleam in San Shouwang's eyes. The battle armor is here. Come take it if you want it. Jian Wushuang indifferently teased him. Haha, good. I'll send you to hell since you have a death wish. San Shouwang let out a loud laugh while an intense and violent aura that resembled a fierce beast instantly rose within him, as his eyes flashed with strong killing intent. San Shouwang fired the first shot. His figure remained stagnant, but a surging divine power began to gather on his right palm. The divine power was almost 10 times stronger than a typical peak ultimate god's. Such a concentrated and powerful divine power. San Shouwang then stepped forward and flung out his right fist. Boom! Suddenly the world shook. The void seemed to shatter by the blow as invisible ripples spread out. It was a crude and hard punch without any fancy moves. After that blast, an impressive gush of divine powers converged in the void ahead, and formed a 3-meter-high strange beast in the blink of an eye. The beast roared as it frantically charged toward Jian Wushuang. Chapter 2573. A battle with San Shouwang. San Shouwang was seen delivering a simple and rough punch without using any secret techniques. However, the many experts around them were completely startled and amazed when the strange and fierce beast appeared along with the terrifying surge of power. He's indeed an Earth Ultimate God. He could crush a peak Ultimate God easily with his divine power alone, without performing any secret techniques. The gap between an Earth Ultimate God and an ordinary Ultimate God is far too much. Even though Jian has reached the peak Ultimate God realm, he's still defenseless in front of an Earth Ultimate God. I guess Jian will die today. Many people secretly sighed, as that was all they could do. After all, it was clear that Jian Wushuang had a death wish. To everyone's surprise, Jian Wushuang moved just when the strange and fierce beast appeared in front of Jian Wushuang and charged down at him. He did not draw out the blood-peak sword which he carried behind his back. Instead, a surge of divine power gathered in his hand, and he released a single punch. Kaboom! A loud bang exploded in the air. Jian Wushuang's fist hammered the strange and fierce beast as a terrifying force erupted. That was a head-on fist-to-fist battle. It was a direct confrontational fight. Buzz! That strange beast became completely contorted as the divine power disseminated before the beast collapsed. Jian Wushuang remained standing as he calmly withdrew his palm and patted his clothes off, as though nothing had happened. Huh? San Shouwang narrowed his gaze slightly as he curiously studied Jian Wushuang. The experts watching the battle around the combat ring were in an uproar. He took a punch from the territorial lord. He didn't draw his sword but merely relied on his divine power, and took a blow from the territorial lord. Does that mean that Jianyi isn't inferior to the territorial lord in terms of divine power? Everyone was shocked. How could a peak ultimate god's divine power be comparable to an earth ultimate god? Jianyi hid his strength when battling with us. Otherwise, his divine power alone would be enough to crush us, Shi clan leader. Shi Qianhan exclaimed in a low voice. San Shouwang looked at Jian Wushuang again. No wonder you dare to challenge me. You have some strength after all, said San Shouwang coldly. San Shouwang, you better show your true strength. Otherwise, not only you won't get my battle armor, but you'll also die here. Jian Wushuang smiled. You want to take my life? I'm afraid that you don't have the capabilities to do so yet. San Shouwang snorted as he moved, and a gush of divine power immediately surged within him. The all-beasts way evolution. Roar, roar, moo, whoop. A myriad of strange beasts growling could be heard within the void. Under everyone's eyes, the vast divine power that flooded the void instantly evolved into many different types of odd monsters. There were a giant dragon wolf, mystical ape, blood phoenix, and many types of strange beasts numbering at least dozens of them. Dozens of strange beasts appeared at the same time and attacked Jian Wushuang from every direction. The impact of a single one of those strange beasts was extremely powerful, more so when there were dozens of them. Is he going for the evolution law? Jian Wushuang snorted and instantly pulled out the blood-peak sword from behind him. Swash, 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 swash. Jian Wushuang was seen casually swinging his sword. Occasionally, he would slash horizontally, stab straight, or hack around in rage. As rays of swordlight swept past the strange beasts, he attacked and killed all of them in the blink of an eye. San Shouwang's eyes were cold as his large hand slammed forward. The big palm destroyer. Rumbling. An enormous giant palm made up entirely of destructive powers appeared in the void above. The giant palm crashed down on Jian Wushuang with its highly destructive ability. Jian Wushuang raised his head as strong hatred filled his eyes. Hate, hate, hate. An infinite amount of hatred came through. A hazy sword light flickered to carving out a hateful path toward heaven in the void. Chuck! The giant destructive palm was instantly cut in half using the sword light, causing the infinite destructive power to begin melting away. San Shouwang, I've given you the chance to attack twice. It's now my turn. Jian Wushuang smiled coldly as his figure started to madly evolve. Hundreds of apparitions formed concurrently. Yes, there were hundreds of apparitions. When Jian Wushuang was in the secret chamber for a full year's seclusion, he relied on the Fengtian scroll to study both the space-time law and transmigration law, achieving tremendous improvement in both aspects. Thereafter, he traveled in the Dark Thunder territory for a year and 3 months. During that time, he focused on innovating sword techniques and sharpening his sword skills, and had gained a deeper understanding of laws at the same time. His understanding of both the space-time law and transmigration law had reached an exceptionally high level, especially the space-time law. Gosh, so many apparitions. Hundreds of them. There are hundreds of apparitions. Is Jianyi so powerful with the space-time law? Outside the combat ring, many cultivators watching Jian Wushuang's apparition were stupefied. Hundreds of apparitions? Even San Shouwang was shocked. The first stage of space-time law was to form apparitions. The more apparitions that were formed, the higher one's understanding of space-time law. 10, 100, and even 1,000 apparitions forming at a time were considered different levels of achievement. Even for regular ultimate gods, forming 10 apparitions at the same time was already considered something extremely terrifying. Therefore, forming 100 apparitions at the same time was even more tyrannical and scarce, even among Earth ultimate gods. This brat has such a high understanding of the space-time law. San Shouwang's eyes narrowed into slits. Oh no! His sword skills. Jian Wuxia surrounded San Shouwang like a ghost with hundreds of apparitions formed at the same time, and displaying the full potentials of his sword skills. The higher his understanding of the space-time law, the faster his sword movements would be. Jian Wuxia thrust his sword over and over again with his seemingly random movements. However, his speed horrified San Shouwang. Too fast. It's way too fast. His sword is moving way too fast that it's hard to dodge it. San Shouwang tried his best to ward off the sword attacks, but was still tormented by a great deal of pressure. It was clear that he was losing his abilities to defend after just a few strikes. However, a fire of vengeance flashed across Jian Wuxia's eyes. Chapter 2574. The Real Strength Hum. Hundreds of apparitions that previously pervaded the surroundings suddenly disappeared. However, the fact was they had not disappeared, but had their colors concealed by Jian Wuxia, which made them appear to be invisible. Jian Wuxia held his sword hilt with both hands as the Blood Mountain sword's brilliance flashed. The world fell silent, leaving only him in motion. He thrust forward the sword in his hand. The sword's motion brought space and time along with it. The whole world seemed to be driven around by his sword. An icy blood light loomed between heaven and earth. The sword which leisurely swept across became the world's focus. Space-time sword's technique, fourth form, break your heart. The looming sword light went straight at San Shouwang's heart, while pulling space-time along to completely oppress him. San Shouwang was horrified as the sword was too fast for him to defend against. In the nick of time, the deep purple divine armor of destruction manifested itself over San Shouwang's body. At the same time, a wave of aggressive divine power swept up and formed a shield layer in front of him. Boom! There was a loud noise as infinitely strong strangling powers broke out in the void where the sword's edge landed. Space was about to completely collapse under the vigorous strangling forces. Swoosh! A miserable figure was seen frantically retreating to regain its footing in the void after some time. San Shouwang still had the divine armor of destruction on his body, but a spiral pit was spotted over where his heart was. His skin was exposed at the pit's end with a white mark over it. The white mark was a trace left by the sword shadow. Brat! I've been too carefree and looked down on you. A trace of blood dripped from the corners of San Shouwang's mouth as he coldly continued. You're stronger than Pei Qi. I was careless and almost suffered a great deal. Haha, I told you so. Jian Wuxia smiled. It doesn't matter. It's not too late for me to get serious. San Shouwang's eyes were cold as the ruthless and tyrannical aura in him instantly surged and oppressed the crowd. A powerful principal world was then displayed at the same time. Are you finally going to display your full strength? Jian Wuxia responded with an indifferent smile, as his sword intent began to spread upon feeling the principal world around him. Jian Wuxia had also started displaying his sword world, but only revealed a small part of its power, which was comparable to a fraction of San Shouwang's principal world. Beast King transformation. San Shouwang was unleashing his full force as deep purple scales started appearing and covering his body. In the blink of an eye, he turned into a terrifying primitive beast with dark purple scales. Swoosh! The primitive beast evolved into a dark purple phantom and charged forward. Beast King Fury. The dark purple primitive beast San Shouwang had transformed into let out a roar. Its voice shook the heavens and resounded throughout the combat ring. The powerful sonic attack roar was accompanied by a soul attack aimed directly at Jian Wuxia. Jian Wuxia had potent self-protective abilities, hence he was unaffected by the sonic attack. Even the towering exquisite pagoda's soul attack toward his consciousness was ineffective. The dark purple primitive beast San Shouwang had transformed into launched itself at him and aimed a terrifyingly strong punch at Jian Wushuang. Again, Jian Wushuang sneered. He was doing the same thing as before in the combat ring. San Shouwang had used the trick on Pei Qi to counter his strongest move, which resulted in Pei Qi's death. San Shouwang had decided to use the same trick on Jian Wushuang. The powers he was using seemed a bit stronger than what he used against Pei Qi. Come on. Jian Wushuang was not afraid and filled his body with divine powers. He then held the Blood Mountain sword with both hands and raised it. With his hands swooping in a downward motion, the Blood Mountain sword instantly evolved into a huge black sword light. The black sword light rapidly disseminated and soon spread across the combat ring. Endless samsara strength flooded every corner. It seemed to have opened the reincarnation door. Transmigration sword technique. Fourth form. One sword, one reincarnation. Along with the break your heart sword technique, the one sword, one reincarnation was created and honed by Jian Wushuang during his journey in the Dark Thunder territory, through numerous battles against bandits for a year and 3 months. It was powerful. Jian Wushuang fully discharged his divine power. In an instant, the ferocious and dark purple primitive beast collided head-on with the huge black sword light. Boom! The momentum was earth-shattering. The huge combat ring was completely engulfed by two shocking powers. The powers dispersed madly in all directions was enough to frighten everyone on the battlefield. The residual energies which came from the power convergence point at the combat ring's center caused those surrounding peak ultimate gods to shudder. There was no doubt that even a peak ultimate god was not qualified to appear at the combat ring's center. If one of them insisted on barging into the ring, they might be crushed by the ravaging powers being displayed. Is the winner about to be revealed? Countless people around the combat ring were looking forward to the outcome. However, swoosh, swoosh, two figures frantically retreated at the same time, with each taking one end of the combat ring. The two powers which had madly collided in the middle gradually dissipated. Jian Wushuang held his sword in one hand as he stood in the void, while feeling some vibrations from his divine body. He narrowed his eyes and exclaimed in a low voice, San Shouwang, so you've been hiding your true powers. You have reached the high-level Earth Ultimate God level, but pretended to be a primary stage Earth Ultimate God. When those primary stage Earth Ultimate God challenged you in a duel, you just killed them to seize their interspatial ring. Geez, you're really smart. Those words stirred up an uproar among the many experts present around the combat ring. A high-level Earth Ultimate God? Did Jiani just say that the Territorial Lord is a high-level Ultimate God? He must be joking. The Territorial Lord has always been a primary stage Earth Ultimate God, isn't he? Just like any other god realm, Earth Ultimate Gods were divided into 3 levels: primary stage, high level, and peak. Similar to ordinary Ultimate Gods, there was a huge gap between primary stage Ultimate Gods and high-level Ultimate Gods. The same was also true for high-level Ultimate Gods and peak Ultimate Gods. Similarly, high-level Earth Ultimate Gods were also much stronger than primary stage Earth Ultimate Gods. Everyone thought that San Shouwang was just a primary stage Earth Ultimate God, as even he had said so himself. Perhaps due to the lacking of high achievements, people thought that he was just very powerful among the primary stage Earth Ultimate Gods. Chapter 2575. High-level Earth Ultimate God San Shouwang did not bother hiding anymore since Jian Wushuang had exposed his true strength, a majestic wave of divine power that was several times stronger than primary stage Earth Ultimate God's aura, which he showed previously, started emanating from him. He's a high-level Earth Ultimate God. It's a high-level Earth Ultimate God. Everyone in the combat ring shuddered at the sight. I smell major trouble brewing. Situ Yuan and many Situ clan elders, who stood watching in the void, trembled at the sight of divine power breath discharged by San Shouwang. Jian Wushuang, who stood in front of San Shouwang, was unfazed. I've just used nearly 70% of my strength. It should at least be enough to heavily wound, if not kill you. However, you don't seem to be affected at all. The heavenly treasure battle armor is pretty good indeed. San Shouwang shot a sharp gaze at Jian Wushuang. It's a pity that such a precious treasure fell into your hands. Give it to me so that I can make full use of it. After which, San Shouwang extended his large hand and grabbed Jian Wushuang. He was finally displaying his full strength. A high-level Earth Ultimate God was several times more powerful than a primary stage Earth Ultimate God. Even if a casually fired shot was much stronger than any techniques he had previously used, Jian Wushuang's expression remained unchanged. The stellar strength in his body was bubbling forth as his divine power breath soared. Jian Wushuang casually brandished his sword and destroyed everything with his brutal sword shadow. This sword. San Shouwang was startled as he sharply withdrew his hand. Boom! A sword light hit below the combat ring's grounds, which caused a huge sword mark that spanned perfectly across the combat ring to instantly appeared. It appeared as though the sword light had divided the combat ring into two halves. San Shouwang looked at Jian Wushuang in horror. At the same time, he felt the surging divine power breath in Jian Wushuang. Although the divine power breath was far from his, it was much stronger than what Jian Wushuang had displayed earlier. Previously, Jian Wushuang showed the divine power breath of a peak ultimate god. His power then had risen to that of an ordinary primary stage Earth Ultimate God. Did Jian Wushuang's cultivation level just advance? What's going on? San Shouwang frowned. The surrounding experts watching the battle at the combat ring were perplexed. Jian Wushuang smiled coldly. San Shouwang, you are too full of yourself. I've noticed how you've been hiding your strength when you fought with Pei Qi. You even pretended to be injured. I know your realm level is higher than what you've shown, but since I dare to challenge you today, I will surely have prepared well. In other words, I have figured out a way to deal with you since I've always known you were a high-level Earth Ultimate God. While Jian Wushuang spoke, a majestic divine power had begun to gather behind him. In the blink of an eye, an infinitely huge golden god shadow appeared out of thin air. He also displayed both the 7-star secret technique and divine god of punishment. Jian Wushuang had also gradually improved the performance of both secret techniques, along with his realm's improvement. He had only practiced the first scroll of 7-star secret technique earlier, which helped elevated his power by half a realm. He had since completed the second scroll of 7-star secret technique. The second scroll was capable of even elevating an undying saint's cultivation realm. That explained why Jian Wushuang's divine power breath had advanced from a peak ultimate god to a primary level Earth Ultimate God. Although Jian Wushuang did not make many breakthroughs with the divine god of punishment technique, it had also grown from 1,000 feet to 1,800 feet, improving its powers by manifolds. Jian Wushuang was more powerful than ever after displaying the two great secret techniques. Rumbling. The monstrous divine aura coming off from Jian Wushuang was more powerful than San Shouwang. This brat, San Shouwang became gloomy, but his gaze was still razor-sharp. So what if you're well prepared? It's a pity you're too late, as I'm no longer the same as what you saw during the battle with Pei Qi 2 years ago. You'll still die in the end no matter how powerful you are. San Shouwang sounded cold as the destructive divine aura in his body instantly soared to an extremely high level. A large amount of destructive power gathered in his body and formed a huge divine destructive beast in the blink of an eye. The huge divine destructive beast was 1,000 feet tall. It was covered with deep purple scales with a faint purple thunder circling its scales. After the beast appeared, a terrifying destructive aura emanated from it. Even the world seemed to retreat in the face of such danger. Divine destructive beast, thunder punishment. San Shouwang let out a stern roar under the disguise of the divine destructive beast. The 1,000-foot-high divine destructive beast charged forward, bringing along billions of thunder clouds with it that were packed with the power to destroy a world. Everyone in the combat ring gasped when they saw the divine destructive beast charge forward. It was outrageously strong. While the beast was taking action, the principal world, which San Shouwang displayed, expanded its presence to the surrounding void. It quickly grew in power and forcefully crushed Jian Wushuang and forced his sword world to retreat. It's true that his principal world is very strong. I believe it's at least 30,000 miles, but it still looks like a joke before me. Jian Wushuang sneered, and no longer suppressed his sword world's powers. Boom! With a full range of 100,000 miles, the most perfect sword world between heaven and earth was displayed. That was the first time Jian Wushuang had fully displayed his sword world, since open up the perfect sword world. He was merely displaying a part of its full potential when previously faced with the Infernal Heart Prefecture governor in the Dark Thunder territory. And then San Shuang's principal world instantly collapsed. There was no room for struggles as the principal world was instantly trounced. What just happened? San Shuang was taken aback. He wanted to use his principal world against Jian Wushuang, just like how he had caught Pei Qi off guard and beheaded him. He never expected to be the one being caught off guard instead. His principal world was ruthlessly crushed as Jian Wushuang's sword world continued to expand and began to overwhelm him with its stunning effects. Chapter 2576, Crushed, How Can His Power Be So Strong? San Shuang was a little confused. His strength was greatly affected under such incredible suppression. The powers enveloped his body and dimmed the purple light emitted from the divine destructive beast's surface, while also weakening his powers by more than 30%. At the sword world's core, Jian Wushuang, who was dominating the sword principles, took a stride forward. The moment he took the stride, there was a surging killing intent that grew more intense in his eyes. Kill, kill, kill. Jian Wushuang's whole mind and body were overwhelmed by the strong killing intent. At that very moment, his eyes slowly closed before opening again. That terrifying killing intent was completely unleashed once they reopened. It was no longer just a killing intent, but a heart's desire to kill. During the 1 year and 3 months in the Dark Thunder territory, he used the bandits to hone his sword skills. He created 2 techniques, Break Your Heart and One Sword One Reincarnation. Both moves were extremely tyrannical. However, what took Jian Wushuang an extremely long time to create was another sword technique called the Killing Heart. He beheaded a large number of bandits while condensing his true killing intent just to create that particular sword technique. Finally, the sword technique was created. It was also Jian Wushuang's strongest sword technique that was being fully displayed. A scarlet sword light swung down with deep killing intent. Roar! The dark purple divine destructive beast covering San Shuang's body let out a roar, as though it felt the irresistible powers contained in the sword light. The howl sent chills down one's spine. The sword light descended before the 1,000-foot-tall dark purple divine destructive beast and cut its head in half. It then continued to descend and cut open the divine destructive beast's body, tearing the huge body apart. In the blink of an eye, the sword light had already appeared around the divine destructive beast's core. How could this be? San Shuang looked up toward the sword light in front of him with his hollowed eyes. Boom! It was an earth-shattering sound. The sword finally and completely landed, destroying the divine destructive beast in the process. The infinite divine power dissipated as a storm started brewing. After a long time, everything finally subsided. Jian Wushuang was holding the sword in one hand and standing in the void with a cold expression, while the 1,800 feet golden god shadow behind him exuded a frightening power. The perfect sword world was still in every corner of the combat ring, and Jian Wushuang naturally became the master of this world. San Shuang was back to his human form in the void before Jian Wushuang. Although he was still standing, his figure was trembling in a craze as the destruction divine armor on his body collapsed. Pfft! A large gulp of blood spurted from his mouth, dyeing the void before him red as his complexion turned pale. He was injured. It was different from his battle with Pei Qi. He had feigned an injury in the fight with Pei Qi. However, he was not putting up an act in the fight with Jian Wushuang, as he was truly and quite seriously injured to the point at death's door. He would have already been dead if Jian Wushuang had gone all out in the final moments. Completely crushed. Crushed in terms of principal world. Crushed in terms of divine power and strength. Crushed in terms of secret techniques. Jian Wushuang had crushed San Shuang in every aspect. Impossible. It's impossible. How could I? a majestic high-level Earth Ultimate God be defeated in the hands of a peak Ultimate God? It's impossible. San Shouwang was in a frenzy and roared aloud. At the same time, he looked at the void beside him. Fourth Commander and Seventh Commander, what are you two doing? Go. Take action and kill him. What? Many cultivators around the combat ring were shocked by his sudden move. The official army? Did San Shouwang just order the official army to take action? Shouldn't they be fighting fairly? On the combat ring's edge were many official army soldiers gathered together. The two leaders frowned at that moment and looked at each other before quickly making their decision. The 4th Battalion assemble. The 7th Battalion assemble. The soldiers of both battalions gathered together and instantly formed two military formations under the orders of their two commanders. Go! The two battalions formed two military formations and attacked Jian Wushuang. The official army made a move? The people around were shocked. It's normal. Jian didn't pass the mini tests of the official army before openly challenging San Shouwang after all. As long as he doesn't follow the usual procedures, it won't be considered a real challenge even if they engage in a duel. San Shouwang could order the official army to take action as the territorial lord, and the official army must obey. This is the official army's rule. Someone explained in detail. The official army had taken action. The two military formations formed were amazingly powerful. Kill! Kill! Two low voices were heard in unison as many soldiers in both military formations suddenly erupted their divine auras. The weakest soldiers were at the peak divine demon level only, whereas the stronger ones were generally primary level, high level, and peak ultimate gods with none at the Earth Ultimate God realm. Despite that, they relied on their particularly terrifying military formation to perform efficiently. The two military formations were no weaker than the powers of two Earth Ultimate gods. It was important to note that both battalions were incomplete at that moment. Their powers would be much stronger if they were complete. Jian Wushuang's eyes narrowed and waved his large hands as he perceived the dangers portrayed by those military formations. Get going! Boom! The brutal sword intent built up and attempted to defeat the two powers. However, both military formations were completely unaffected and continued attacking Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's face slightly changed. He had to admit that the army's formation made things very difficult. Fortunately, he had asked the Situ family to act beforehand and moved a large number of the army's soldiers away so that the remaining military soldiers were incomplete. Otherwise, Jian Wushuang might be unable to go against him if San Shouwang had his complete official army with 3 or 4 commanders in power. At that moment, boom! Under Jian Wushuang's control, the monstrous golden god shadow formed a vast divine power ocean that instantly covered the surrounding world. Its speed was amazing. San Shouwang initially wanted to flee while the official army was fighting Jian Wushuang, but the golden divine power ocean suddenly spread out. In the blink of an eye, the void he was located in had been completely covered by the golden divine power ocean. Chapter 2577. Prized possession. Countless cultivators around the combat ring gathered there included experts from various clans. Everyone had their eyes on the center of the combat ring. A huge golden prison floated there. Not only did the golden prison block their sight, but also encumbered their soul powers and caused them to have no idea what was happening inside the golden prison. On the sides of the golden prison, the military formations formed from the official army's 2 battalions were frantically attacking the golden prison and trying to pry it open under the leadership of both commanders. However, Jian Wushuang drew up the golden prison with his full divine power intensity, making the golden prison extremely rigid and impenetrable. Even if the official army had given up on destroying the golden prison and aimed to just crack a hole in it, they would only succeed if they had the powers of a high-level Earth Ultimate God. The military formations formed by both battalions were powerful but incomplete nonetheless. The strongest power each military formation was able to unleash was equivalent to a top-tier primary stage Earth Ultimate God, which was a far cry from the required high-level Earth Ultimate God's power. Besides, the golden prison is capable of self-restoration. Therefore, they failed to blow a hole into the golden prison despite both military formations taking turns repeatedly bombarding the golden prison. The official army was discouraged and felt helpless by their failure. In the golden prison's center, Jian Wushuang indifferently stood and faced San Shouwang. San Shouwang was trembling physically and mentally with his eyes flashing crazily in horror. But he was still able to maintain a calm composure although knowing of his plight. It was because he was a high-level Earth Ultimate God expert after all. Who on earth are you? San Shouwang stared at Jian Wushuang. It doesn't matter who I am. But you ought to know you would have been dead if I wanted to kill you earlier. Jian Wushuang's voice was cold. Jian Wushuang was telling the truth, and San Shouwang knew it. Jian Wushuang could have destroyed San Shouwang in his previous sword movement, but changed his mind at the last minute. What exactly do you want then? San Shouwang asked in a low voice. I have a question for you. Jian Wushuang looked down at San Shouwang. The latter was seriously injured almost to the point of death. His combat power was less than 10% of his normal capacity, and could not possibly escape Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang was also not in a hurry to take San Shouwang's life. Not long ago, the Shao clan had a special treasure which attracted your attention. You took ownership of the treasure after destroying the Shao clan. You still have it, don't you? Where is it? Jian Wushuang asked. The Shao clan's treasure? San Shouwang was startled before smiling coldly. I was wondering why someone like you that can defeat a high-level Earth Ultimate God, while being at the peak Ultimate God realm, is interested in the Territorial Lord position, when you could have joined some more powerful sects, such as the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, for a better future. Your real purpose isn't the Territorial Lord position, but to get your hands on the Shao clan's treasure. Jian Wushuang looked calm. San Shouwang was right. He was not interested in the slightest with the Territorial Lord position. Even if he became one, it was merely a route to gain more primordial stones to improve his cultivation realm. The reasons why Jian Wushuang marked the Territorial Lord and tried to kill him was to get revenge for Shao Tiexin, and most part the stately painting. It was his prized possession. Thanks Jianni. Although I don't know why you're interested in that piece of treasure, I have to tell you that you're too late. I no longer have it. San Shouwang laughed. Jian Wushuang's expression turned cold as his powerful divine powers oppressed San Shouwang. San Shouwang, who was already shaking profusely, and fell on his knees in front of Jian Wushuang, as soon as the mighty divine power started oppressing him. His face turned ghastly pale but still kept his head up and sneered. I didn't lie to you. The Shao clan's treasure is very special, and must be very remarkable. Unfortunately, I was unable to take ownership and had no way of refining it, so it was of no use for me to keep. Instead of keeping it in the interspatial ring, I sold it in exchange for a secret technique manual I wanted. Jian Wushuang had his eyes locked on San Shouwang the entire time, and knew that San Shouwang was not lying judging from his expression changes. He had indeed sold the stately painting. The matter that worries me the most has happened. Jian Wushuang unconsciously clenched his fists. He was rather worried when he knew the stately painting had fallen into San Shouwang's hands. Even an undying saint was unable to refine the stately painting, so what more could he expect from an ultimate god? The treasure was of no use if it could not be refined, and he suspected that San Shouwang might have possibly sold it in exchange for fortunes or favors. That was the reason he did not kill San Shouwang earlier. Jian Wushuang was cautious enough to keep San Shouwang alive and find out about the treasure's exact location. Who did you sell the treasure to? Jian Wushuang asked. Why should I tell you? Will you spare me if I tell you? San Shouwang sneered. Well, you can choose not to tell, but I know other ways to make you speak. Jian Wushuang kept a straight face. A vast soul power that targeted San Shouwang swept out in an instant the minute he finished talking. As soul manipulation? You know how to attack the soul? San Shouwang's expression drastically changed. Do you think you can read me? Jian Wushuang sneered as his soul power amplified. No, stop. I'll say it. San Shouwang immediately pleaded loudly, as he was unable to resist the attacks. He was worried that Jian Wushuang would gain control of his soul, which would be worse than killing him. Jian Wushuang slowed down. I gave the treasure to my eldest brother, who is the Star-Picking Pavilion's golden chief, and is quite powerful in the Star-Picking Pavilion. After I gave him the treasure, he immediately handed it to the Star-Picking Pavilion in exchange for 4 million primordial stones, which we split evenly between ourselves. Not long ago, I hear the Star-Picking Pavilion will hold a large-scale auction in the Narcissus territory and put the treasure up for auction around 11 years later. Chapter 2578. San Shouwang is dead. Star-Picking Pavilion auction? 11 years later? Jian Wushuang frowned slightly. Jian Wushuang knew that San Shouwang did not lie, or rather dared not lie. Jian Yi, I've already told you everything I know, and there's no enmity between us. Why don't you? Jian Wushuang, who was in front of him, had already swung out his long sword before San Shouwang could finish his words. A cold swordlight swept toward San Shouwang. Under the huge divine aura pressure, San Shouwang could not move or resist the attack. No, Jian Yi, my eldest brother is the Star-Picking Pavilion Golden Chief. He'll avenge me. San Shouwang only had time to let out a terrible scream before his head was cut off and tossed away. Jian Wushuang wore a cold and indifferent expression as he slowly sheathed the Blood Mountain sword in his hand into its scabbard. The 1,800 feet high golden god shadow behind him began to slowly subside. The golden prison that had completely enveloped the void had also begun to fade. The experts of various clans, as well as the countless cultivators who gathered around to watch the battle, were still waiting around the combat ring. Finally, the golden prison which was suspended in the center receded. Countless pairs of eyes instantly stared at the center of the receding golden prison. The situation inside the prison soon unfolded as they saw the two figures within. One of them stood still whereas the other was suspended in the void, his head no longer attached to his body. The identity of the person who lost his head was instantly confirmed. It was San Shouwang. For a moment, the entire combat ring fell into dead silence. It was so absolutely quiet and soundless. Jian Wushuang took away San Shouwang's interspatial ring and the other treasures on his body under everyone's gaze, before slowly walking toward the void beside him. He walked up toward the two official army commanders. Do you still want to fight? Jian Wushuang coldly asked. The soldiers under both commanders were taken aback when they heard Jian Wushuang. One of the commanders even walked up to Jian Wushuang and respectfully said, Master, there's a set of rules the official army have to follow. We won't interfere in challenges issued via the normal channels against the territorial lord. Other than that, the official army will have to obey the territorial lord's orders just like what happened earlier. Please forgive us. The commander was very worried at the moment. Although they were just following the official army's rules, they did indeed attack Jian Wushuang. After San Shouwang was killed, there was nothing they could do to save themselves had Jian Wushuang wanted to vent his anger on the official army. I don't blame you since you were acting according to the rules. However, now that I've killed San Shouwang, can I become the new Northern Darkstar Territorial Lord? Jian Wushuang asked. Heir. The commander frowned and said, Master, there is no problem at all for you to be the next territorial lord with your strength. However, there are still a few procedures to be completed. If you are convenient now, you can come with me to the territorial lord mansion. Us, commanders will assemble to meet you before carefully explaining the procedures. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly and immediately called out at the void next to him, Sheener. A beautiful woman with an alluring figure and valiant look who wore purple battle armor came to Jian Wushuang's side from the void in the distance. Master! Xiao Tiexin greeted Jian Wushuang with her slightly blood-red eyes as her figure trembled slightly from evident agitation. She had taken off her disguise and exposed her true identity to the public. Come with me to the territorial lord mansion, said Jian Wushuang. Yes. Xiao Tiexin was very docile. Both commanders and their many soldiers soon led Jian Wushuang and Xiao Tiexin toward the territorial lord mansion. After Jian Wushuang was gone quite far away, the combat ring broke into a state of tumultuous. He's dead. The territorial lord is dead? The strongest expert in Northern Darkstar territory is killed. Territorial Lord? The strongest expert? I say there's always someone better, and He has replaced him now since he killed him. Our territorial lord is Jiani from today onward instead of San Shouwang. The strongest expert now is of course also Jiani. That's right. San Shouwang is now dead, so Jiani is stronger than him. Northern Darkstar Territory's leader is finally changing. Countless cultivators were exclaiming excitedly. San Shouwang had always been invincible in Northern Darkstar Territory for a long time. He was unrivaled, and had a high status with many clans in Northern Darkstar Territory dared not compete against San Shouwang at all. San Shouwang was a real despot. Many people in Northern Darkstar Territory once thought that there might be a stronger expert who could defeat San Shouwang and replace him as the territorial lord. However, the last 4 consecutive challengers had failed miserably, which made them lose hope since the chances were slim. Even if there was a chance, it might only probably happen many years later. No one could have thought that someone would challenge San Shouwang again in less than 2 years after Pei Qi's challenge and successfully cut his head off. The most important matter was that person's strength was only at the peak ultimate god. Jiani! Jiani! Countless cultivators on the combat ring were chanting his name. From that day onward, Jiani had become the new hero of Northern Darkstar Territory, the new strongest expert. The various clans' members wore very complicated expressions on their faces, while countless cultivators were still cheering. Before the battle, they were attracted to the scene by the heavenly treasure armor on Jian Wushuang. Especially the Shi clan. They were the ones who disseminated the news about Jian Wushuang's heavenly treasure armor. The Shi clan had battled with Jian Wushuang before, and were rather unhappy that they did not manage to keep Jian Wushuang. However, Shi Qianhan, the Shi clan leader, and the Shi clan elders stood there motionless, with Shi Qianhan's complexion almost chalk white. Clan leader. An elder next to him whispered, "Shut up, let's go back first." Shi Qianhan gave an order in a low voice, and immediately led his people away. In another void, the situation with the Situ clan was the complete opposite of the Shi clan. He's dead. San Shouwang is finally dead. That's great. It's really great. We won the bet. Situ clan had won the big bet this time, and Jiani did not disappoint us. The Situ clan elders were overjoyed. Situ Yuan was shivering as his eyes glowed with happiness, but quickly got back to his senses. He took out a message token and sent a message. Second Elder, bring our people back. Situ clan is safe now. Chapter 2579. Star-picking pavilion in a magnificent palace within the territorial lord mansion. Jian Wushuang sat on a highly elevated throne with Xiao Tiexin standing beside him, while the 4 official army commanders stood below him. There were 10 commanders in the official army, but the other 6 had been specially arranged to be sent away from the Northern Darkstar Territory by the Situ clan, and were unable to appear in front of Jian Wushuang at that instance. Coincidentally, Jian Wushuang had met 2 of the 4 commanders in front of him before. They were the 2 commanders who had invited Jian Wushuang to join the official army at the Shi clan gladiatorial arena, but were curtly rejected. The 2 commanders thought that Jian Wushuang was ignorant back then. However, after the 2 commanders learned that Jian Wushuang had killed San Shouwang, their heart fluttering like rogue waves at sea, and stood petrified before Jian Wushuang. They too had never thought that Jian Wushuang could make such great improvements. In merely a few years, he was able to behead San Shouwang, and took over his position as Northern Darkstar Territory's strongest expert, and also became the territorial lord. Everyone. Although I'm now seated here, I haven't really become the territorial lord, so all of you need not be so tensed up when facing me. Jian Wushuang smiled. Even though he said so, the 4 commanders below him remained obsequious. Jian Wushuang was helpless before stretching out his finger and pointed at one of the commanders. "What's your name?" "Master, I'm Song Hung, the official army's 7th commander," answered the burly commander. "You mentioned earlier in the combat ring that I have to go through some necessary procedures to become the territorial lord. Can you explain further about that?" Jian Wushuang asked. "Master, Wildernesses are the smallest territory in the ancient god domain. A stellar region is formed from many of these wildernesses combined. The territorial lord which controls the stellar region would naturally control the many wildernesses within. Likewise, many stellar regions combine to form a domain. Northern Darkstar territory belongs to the control range of the Danyang Holy Domain, which is under the control of the Crimson Stone Fort. Song Hung explained in great detail. Crimson Stone Fort has enforced different sets of rules for every stellar region within the Danyang Holy Domain, which has been around for many years. The official army rules are also set by Crimson Stone Fort. It's mentioned that whenever a new territorial lord steps up, it must be reported to the Crimson Stone Fort for them to make the final decision. Going by usual means, one would challenge the incumbent territorial lord after passing some tests from the official army, and when the territorial lord is defeated, that person will naturally succeed in the position as the new territorial lord. All we have to do then is to inform Crimson Stone Fort of the news. On the other hand, if one uses other methods rather than the usual path to defeat or kill the incumbent territorial lord, then Crimson Stone Fort will take this matter seriously. Under normal circumstances, an inspector will be sent to inspect the situation and appoint a new territorial lord. Like your case, Master, although you've killed the territorial lord in a one-on-one battle, it was not through the usual method. An inspector will probably be sent here to determine if you're qualified to become the territorial lord once we explain the current situation to Crimson Stone Fort. Is that so? Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. He understood that a territorial lord was the ruler of a huge territory, and if he did not possess the capabilities to put everything under control, the territory would be in a mess. It was no wonder the Crimson Stone Fort took the selection seriously. Crimson Stone Fort. The Crimson Stone Fort's ruler should be Su'er, daughter of Crimson Stone Saint, right? Jian Wushuang smiled in his heart. In Saint's tomb, he promised Crimson Stone Saint that he would offer Su'er and Crimson Stone Fort help if there was an opportunity. However, his strength at that time was still too weak to make a difference, and would not be of much help at all. He had no choice but to think about offering his help only when he was sufficiently strong to do so. Song Hung, you may report the matter now. How long does it usually take for the Crimson Stone Fort's inspector to arrive? Jian Wushuang asked. I'm unsure of this. It takes 2 to 3 months at least. It might even take up to 6 months or a year. But it has never been more than a year. A territory cannot be without a leader for too long after all. I'm sure you do have to wait too long, Master, assured Song Hung. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly. Oh, 6 months or up to a year isn't too bad. By the way, have you heard of Star Picking Pavilion? Star Picking Pavilion? The 4 commanders were rather startled to hear that. Song Hung immediately stepped in and said, Master, the Star Picking Pavilion is an extremely large chamber of commerce. Its presence in the business industry isn't only within our Danyang Holy Domain, but also covers the 9 realms of Golden Crow. Therefore, it's recognized as the first-ranked chamber of commerce. I can say that its strength and background is even stronger than the ruler of the Danyang Holy Domain, Crimson Stone Fort. It's that powerful. Jian Wushuang was surprised. Danyang Holy Domain was just a realm. The 9 realms of Golden Crow were made up of 9 realms. The Star-Picking Pavilion was indeed extraordinary, to be labeled the first-ranked chamber of commerce in the 9 realms of Golden Crow. Jian Wushuang was certain that an undying saint might be managing the Star-Picking Pavilion at that point, and they probably have more than one undying saint. The Star-Picking Pavilion is indeed very strong with only a handful of forces in the entire 9 realms of Golden Crow that are comparable to it. The only one I know of is the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, said Song Hung. Dragon Phoenix Pavilion? Jian Wushuang smiled bitterly. He had never heard of either the Star-Picking Pavilion or the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion before. The white-robed commander beneath him then took a step forward and said, Master, you have come into contact with the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion before. When was that? Jian Wushuang was puzzled. The white-robed commander asked, Master, have you forgotten of the last opponent you faced in the Blood Gladiators challenge at the arena? Her. Jian Wushuang recalled the final battle against a girl who displayed the spear world and her amazingly powerful spear. Could that girl be from the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion? Yes, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion only accepts elites as their disciples. The ones who can enter the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion are the cream of the crop. The ancient witch who fought against you and was defeated in battle is one of their disciples. She's not as good as you, said the white-robed commander. Luck was on my side on the day I defeated her. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. Forget about the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, and let's talk about the Star-Picking Pavilion. San Shouwang told me that he has an older brother who's the Golden Chief in the Star-Picking Pavilion before passing away, and seems to be quite influential. Have you ever heard about this person? Golden Chief. The commanders exchanged looks and immediately shook their heads. Chapter 2580. Sure Clan's backing Master. We have never heard of the Star-Picking Pavilion Golden Chief. However, we know that San Shouwang kept in touch with Star-Picking Pavilion and has been trying to accumulate wealth to purchase the secret technique he has been cultivating from the Star-Picking Pavilion, said Song Hung. Secret technique? Jian Wushuang's attention was piqued. The Heavenly Beast secret technique, which San Shouwang performed, instantly appeared in Jian Wushuang's mind. The secret technique's power, which evolved a beast king into a heavenly beast, was indeed impressive. The Heavenly Beast secret technique was probably the reason San Shouwang was accumulating wealth, so that he could practice that secret technique. Master, although I don't know for sure San Shouwang's relationship with the Star-Picking Pavilion, or whether he really has an elder brother in the Star-Picking Pavilion, I do know that all Star-Picking Pavilion's chiefs are very powerful even at their branch level. Besides being powerful, they are also generally very capable and skillful. Even the weakest among them, the Black Chief position, is held by an Earth Ultimate God. As for the Golden Chief, Song Hung paused for a while before solemnly saying, the Golden Chief is generally held by peak Earth Ultimate Gods, with some even held by Heaven Ultimate Gods. Jian Wushuang's eyes widened when he heard that. Did he just say the Golden Chief is generally held by peak Earth Ultimate Gods, with some even held by Heaven Ultimate Gods? It would be easier to deal with if it was a peak Earth ultimate god. Although Jian Wushuang was unable to handle a peak Earth ultimate god, he would very soon be able, given some time and enough primordial stone to absorb and refine. He only needed to make a breakthrough in his realm, and would be able to deal with it. The Heaven Ultimate God, on the other hand, there was still quite a gap between Heaven and Earth Ultimate God. The gap was greater than one between Earth Ultimate God and regular Ultimate God. If San Shouwang truly had an older brother, who was the Star-Picking Pavilion's Golden Chief, at the Heaven Ultimate God realm, there was no way Jian Wushuang could deal with him in a short period. Then again, I don't need to be so worried. First of all, he can't kill me even if he's a Heaven Ultimate God. Worst scenario, he'll just give up my position as the territorial lord and escape. Besides, who knows if San Shouwang's words were true? Perhaps he deliberately made this story up before dying to scare me, so that he could save his life. Jian Wushuang sneered, and decided not to dwell further in the matter. Jian Wushuang again looked down inside the hall. There's one more matter. I heard from San Shouwang there will be an auction in Star-Picking Pavilion 11 years later. What about that? Jian Wushuang asked. That's true, Song Hung answered. The Star-Picking Pavilion is the first-ranked chamber of commerce in the 9 realms of Golden Crow. Their auction is always very popular, and this auction, which will be held in the Narcissus territory, isn't even considered the best auction event in Danyang Holy Domain. However, it's enough to attract regular primary stage ultimate gods and Earth ultimate gods. It's a very large-scale auction since the Star-Picking Pavilion released news of this long ago. I believe many territorial lords, including some independent experts, would be at the auction. I think it may even attract some Heaven Ultimate gods. Oh, even Heaven Ultimate gods may attend the auction? Jian Wushuang slightly nodded. According to San Shouwang, the stately painting belonging to Jian Wushuang would be one of the items put up for auction. However, it was uncertain if that was true. Nonetheless, Jian Wushuang had to go and check the auction out. Well, there's still quite a lot of time since it's 11 years later, murmured Jian Wushuang. Suddenly, a soldier came in from outside the hall. Master, the clan leaders of Shi, Wu and Situ are here. They are waiting outside the mansion, reported the soldier respectfully. The 3 major clans? Jian Wushuang raised his brows. The 4 commanders also looked at each other before Song Hung smiled. These 3 major clans are acting quite fast. They immediately come to see you not long after you killed San Shouwang. Master, they must be here to cozy up to you. Cozy up to me? Jian Wushuang wore a strange expression. Among the 3 big clans, the Situ clan and Wu clan are fine, but the Shi clan? Master. Although the Shi clan has offended you, perhaps Master can let them go if it's not too serious, suggested Song Hung. Huh? Jian Wushuang glanced at Song Hung. Song Hung was startled by the side glance but continued. Master, I'm not begging for mercy on behalf of the Shi clan. I'm not close to the Shi clan, but I'm saying this due to the Earth Ultimate God that is backing up the Shi clan. Jian Wushuang nodded. I know the Shi clan and Wu clan both have an Earth Ultimate God backing them up. What level of Earth Ultimate God are they? I know that Shi clan's Earth Ultimate God had achieved the Earth Ultimate God realm a long time ago. Just not too long ago, he went back to the Shi clan, and had also visited San Shouwang in the Territorial Lord Mansion. That time, San Shouwang personally greeted him with a friendly and humble demeanor toward the Earth Ultimate God. If I'm not wrong, the Shi clan's Earth Ultimate God strength is higher than San Shouwang. He has likely reached the peak Earth Ultimate God realm, explained Song Hung. As for the Wu clan, their Earth Ultimate God isn't that strong. He's just a primary stage Earth Ultimate God whose combat power is weaker than San Shouwang, but talented nonetheless, and has joined a top-tier powerful force within the Danyang Holy Domain. I heard that force is so powerful it's not afraid of the Crimson Stone Fort. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes after consolidating the information. The 2 Earth Ultimate Gods behind those 2 major clans are so powerful that one was at the peak Earth Ultimate God realm, while the other joined one of the top-tier forces that aren't inferior to the Crimson Stone Fort? No wonder San Shouwang dare not do anything to these 2 clans. It turned out the 2 major clans had such strong backings. Although the Sher clan initially wanted to kill me, they never succeeded. After that incident, they have also stopped bothering me. On the other hand, I took the initiative to enter the Sher clan's grounds, because I wanted to kill San Shouwang. There indeed isn't much enmity between us. Well, let's see their attitude later. If they are behaving, then I won't bring up the past. Otherwise, they can't blame me for being ruthless. Jian Wushuang smiled coldly before waving his large hand. Let the 3 major clans in. Yes. The soldier immediately left. Not long after, the 3 clan leaders walked side by side into the hall guided by the soldier, and stood before Jian Wushuang. Pleasure to meet you, Master Jianyi. The 3 clan leaders, including Shi Qianhan, bowed to Jian Wushuang as soon as they came into the hall to show respect. Chapter 2581. Destroy the Heavenly Beast. It's my pleasure as well, clan leaders. Jian Wushuang waved slightly, and the 3 clan leaders stood up straight. Situ clan leader, please step aside, said Jian Wushuang. Situ Yuan understood immediately and walked to the side. After that, Jian Wushuang looked at Shi Qianhan and the Wu clan leader with great interest. I wonder, why are both of you here? Shi Qianhan and the Wu clan leader looked at each other. Shi Qianhan then took a deep breath and solemnly said, Master Jianyi, there may have previously been a little misunderstanding between the Shi clan and Master Jianyi. I'm here to sincerely apologize and congratulate you on succeeding the territorial lord position after killing San Shouwang. Shi Qianhan took out an interspatial ring before sending it to Jian Wushuang and said, The master behind Shi clan already knows about this, and told me to send you a message that he wishes to personally visit when he's back to the northern Darkstar territory. Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed slightly. Shi Qianhan was very smart. He first prepared and took out a generous gift to apologize before mentioning the Peak Earth ultimate god backing Shi clan. His method of employing both soft and hard approaches was rather smart. Wu clan leader, what about you? Jian Wushuang looked at the Wu clan leader. The Wu clan leader was a graceful woman dressed in black. The graceful woman was charming as she glanced at Jian Wushuang and slowly said, The Wu clan is also here to congratulate Master Jianyi. We hope you will accept this gift which we have prepared. Shi Qianhan and the Wu clan leader each took out an interspatial ring. Jian Wushuang took a glance at the rings and secretly nodded. The two big clans were indeed generous. The 200,000 primordial stones in the interspatial ring was indeed a great gift. Both of you may have misunderstood. Although I've killed San Shouwang, it's still unknown whether I will become the territorial lord. As for these two interspatial rings, I'll gladly accept your kind gesture. Jian Wushuang waved his hand and kept the two interspatial rings before saying, Well, I shall invite both of you to a banquet after my position as the territorial lord has been confirmed. Shi Qianhan and the Wu clan leader were a little startled. They could both read between the lines and knew what Jian Wushuang meant. They would certainly have to prepare another generous gift when they were invited to the banquet. Shi clan leader, let's forget about the misunderstanding between us. Jian Wushuang smiled. In that case, both of us will excuse ourselves. Shi Qianhan and the Wu clan leader did not linger around and left. Situ clan leader. Jian Wushuang looked at Situ Yuan again. How's your Situ clan? Thanks to the master who killed San Shouwang, the Situ clan's crisis has resolved. The Situ clan wants to thank you for this huge favor and has also prepared a special gift. Situ Yuan also took out an interspatial ring. Jian Wushuang glanced at it, but did not accept. Instead, he smiled faintly. Situ clan leader, your clan has been kind to me. I have to give you credit for helping me in successfully killing San Shouwang. You don't have to give me this gift. After my position as the territorial lord is confirmed, you may prepare a small gift for me at the time I throw a big banquet. Jian Wushuang needed a lot of primordial stones, so he did not refuse any generous gifts from the clans. However, he did not accept everyone's gifts, such as the Situ clan who had been kind to him and previously joined forces together with him. Jian Wushuang thought there was no need for them to show such gestures. Situ Yuan did not insist and left after thanking Jian Wushuang again. Okay, all of you should go too. Jian Wushuang waved his hand, and the four commanders as well as Xiao Tiexin left the hall. Jian Wushuang was the only one standing there alone. He then waved his hand and caused an interspatial ring to appear in his hand. That was San Shouwang's interspatial ring. San Shouwang had been the northern Darkstar territorial lord for so many years and was good at accumulating wealth. His accumulated wealth over the years must be impressive. Jian Wushuang was curious at San Shouwang's interspatial ring and had quite a high expectation regarding its contents. Jian Wushuang instantly used his soul power to scan through the ring. Jian Wushuang knitted his brows together after seeing its contents. 300,000. There are only 300,000 primordial stones in San Shouwang's interspatial ring? The 300,000 primordial stone might be an extremely huge number for an ordinary clan within the northern Darkstar territory. However, it was possible to fork out under desperate conditions despite being a rather huge number. Any small clan's total assets within the northern Darkstar territory were far more than 300,000 primordial stones, let alone those big clans. San Shouwang was a territorial lord who had also destroyed the Shao clan not long ago. He even sold the stately painting to Star Picking Pavilion and received 2 million primordial stones in return. Yet there were only 300,000 left in his interspatial ring, which was too little. It seems what Song Hung said was true. San Shouwang had probably been busy accumulating his wealth to purchase the secret technique he was practicing. That secret technique must be the divine destructive beast. Jian Wushuang flipped his hand over as 4 jade slips appeared in his hand. All 4 jade slips recorded information on the same secret technique, divine destructive beast. The difference between those 4 jade slips was the recorded 4 different divine destructive beast volumes. Jian Wushuang began studying the 4 secret technique volumes, which took more than half a day to study. Finally, Jian Wushuang had some results. Indeed, this secret technique is very powerful as its creator was a top-tier Undying Saint. The Undying Saint equipped with this powerful secret technique may not be unrivaled among Undying Saints, but not many were capable to be his match. This secret technique is very useful for cultivators below the Undying Saint realm, murmured Jian Wushuang. It's a pity this secret technique is only practical for those who are good in the destruction law. Jian Wushuang was rather disappointed. The secret technique was powerful and versatile. It can be both an attack or defense technique, but was based on the destructive law. He was good at space-time law and transmigration law. Therefore, he was not suitable to practice the secret technique. These 4 divine destructive beast secret technique volumes are very precious. The wealth accumulated by San Shouwang over the years might have been used on procuring these 4 secret technique volumes, but they are of very little use to me. If chanced upon, I'll try to sell these 4 secret technique volumes. I should be able to exchange it for a lot of primordial stones, said Jian Wushuang. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.